I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold. We had to.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to.
You
got to do a Mando quote. Welcome back, Force family, and welcome to Star Wars, guys. We are your hosts, as always, myself, Nate, Mike, and he's back.
Woo!
Uncle.
He's back.
From Bright Suns.
From Bright Suns.
Yes.
That's right, hence the shades.
So cool. Gotta wear shades.
He's been off.
Off-world?
Is it
Off-world?
off-world? I don't. This is a bounty hunter
Batu?
show, so I don't know if I'd say Jedi trials or maybe. I don't know.
maybe.
We don't know what's
been out
possible. He's been out
Roaming the lands of
in
Batu.
the Outer Rim.
Batu.
Yeah.
Galaxy's
Batu.
Edge.
Yeah.
We just got back from Orlando.
Yeah.
We spent 9 days there.
Woo.
3 days. Bright Suns in
Right, sons.
Batu.
Bright Suns.
And it was awesome. We had a blast. It was fun.
That's fantastic. And just so everybody knows, you got back today.
Today.
We haven't talked about the episode that
No.
we're going to cover for the Book of Boba Fett.
No.
We haven't discussed your trip yet.
Nope.
This is all happening for the first time live right here on the show. So, as always, thanks for tuning in. We want this to be a conversation back and forth. So feel free to leave some comments in the chat, drop some questions. If we're talking about a certain moment in the episode for Boba Fett, let
Wait,
us know your
Boba Fett?
thoughts.
Boba Fett?
Boba Fett.
Yeah, one of them.
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
Let us know, and we'll include you guys all in the conversation. Before we jump into some of the review of the episode, we got to hear about some highlights of the trip.
Yes.
Yeah.
First of all,
We
let's
got
say
to.
that as people who did not make the Imperial transport or whatever you took to get there,
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Did
didn't
not
make it
make
in
it.
time.
we
No.
were watching almost like a young Rhodian through. No, we'll get to the-
As I flew off on our starfighter. Right.
we had our suction cup fingers like that. We were waving.
Hey, that
but,
kid was on our plane, actually.
He was on your plane.
He was looking over the seat. Like,
Yes.
are you a Mandalorian?
He works
great.
for Southwest.
Yeah, he's back.
He's just on all their flights.
He's on there all the time.
I see Joe's in here. Let's go. What's up? Parker's in here. Parker asks, Uncle, how was your trip? Where did you go?
It was awesome. So we
Galaxy's
were in
Edge.
Orlando. First couple days we did Harry Potter stuff at Universal. Then first day at Disney we hit Smuggler's Run.
Ooh.
Oh, man.
We got in as the park opened and we went to Rise of the Resistance to a 75-minute wait.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So my kids, I have a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And a 5-year-old will not wait 75 minutes for anything. So we quickly backtracked and thought, let's try to hit Smuggler's Run. Walked over, walk on. We walked on to Smuggler's
Oh,
Run.
that's perfect.
Unreal.
Didn't wait at all. And I piloted the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Yes.
ask what position do you got?
I was
no.
left pilot, which
Oh.
was okay. I got to do one sublight engines. My daughter got to take us to make the jump to hyperspace, which was
Nice.
awesome.
Man.
And my 5-year-old was our gunner.
Yeah.
11-year-old was a gunner. My daughter and my wife were our engineers. So,
That is awesome.
and here's what's cool. They change it all the time, I guess.
Really?
Yeah. So they have a couple different missions. It was a different mission than we had before.
Oh, wow.
Which was cool.
Is it still Han? Is it? Does Hondo
Hondo's
still
at the beginning.
gives you the?
Hondo.
Hondo, and there's a chopper there. But when we saw it the first time, I hadn't seen Rebels.
True, but a whole
So
different
I was
game
like,
now.
okay, who's this guy? It's kind of cool. Now I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
It's a little
So it
different,
felt
sure.
new, but Micah said no, he was there before. So it was a little different. The mission was a little bit different. Setup was the same,
Okay.
but it was a blast,
Oh man.
and the kids loved it.
Yeah.
So much fun. It was the first like 3D moving ride that my 5-year-old had been on, and I was like, you sit in your own seat, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, he's buckled in. I was like, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna get nervous with this? He was digging it.
That is
Loved it.
awesome.
No problem.
Taking out TIE
whatsoever.
fighters?
Oh man,
And some of
it was
those,
awesome.
not to jump in here, but Nate and I, from our experience too, some immersive virtual reality things, you're like, this doesn't feel like it. That's one with like
Oh,
when
the
it
movement's
goes
great.
down and it
Yeah.
dives, you feel like
You
Nate
do.
and I turn and we're like,
Your stomach drops almost. You're
Are
like,
we
oh,
moving?
wow.
I
that was it.
turn, I'm like Chewie, and Nate's
Chewie.
It felt
We're
like
home.
we're in the actual Falcon.
I did
Yeah,
do a
it's
quick
awesome.
turnaround, like, buddy, are we actually flying? He goes, no. disappointed. No. I was like, okay, good. But it does feel like you're in it, right?
Oh yeah.
And I got lost for a second because what happens if you've never ridden it? You're in the Millennium Falcon. There's 2 seats there's a seat on each side for 6 people, and each of you has a role. And depending on how you do the ride, you get graded. You get a score, and you can ding up the ship. And at the end, they give a damage report and give you a score and everything.
So great.
So I'm sitting there just enjoying the ride, and it's like it says like left pilot, punch it, and the thing, and I'm like looking around, and I'm just enjoying the ride, and my daughter goes, "That's you!" I was like, hit it, and we take off.
That's so great.
It was a blast. I can tell you, if you're gonna go, let me give you a tip. They've made it different this time. If you want to ride Rise of the Resistance and you don't want to wait 2 hours, you almost have to stay in a Disney hotel.
Really?
Yeah, they've added something called Lightning Lane, and for Rise of the Resistance, you have to actually pay. You can pay $15 per rider to get on the Lightning Lane.
Okay.
And they fill up like that. So
Yeah.
I watched all day, every day. It was always super long, and we couldn't even. I was going to buy our way on, couldn't even do it. And they open it up to Disney resort guests first. So if you're like, where should I stay?
Yeah.
If you're intent on getting on Rise of the Resistance,
which we still
stay
have to
there.
It wasn't open when we went.
Wasn't
That was
there?
the one ride that wasn't completed yet.
Stay there. We're gonna do it again. Next time we're gonna do that. So Smuggler's Run was awesome. We missed Rise of Resistance this time. Star Tours is also there,
Classic.
which is a totally underrated. It's one of my favorites. And they had 3 different versions. We rode it 3 times, all different versions.
Wow.
This time we were, of course, in this ride, it's a kind of a 3D. A 3PO takes control of the ship, and you're in like a shuttle, and you're thrown into the middle of a battle. And 3PO's like, "Oh my, what are we doing?" And we fly. And we ended up right behind the Millennium Falcon, being piloted by Rey in episode
goodness.
7.
So they really have updated all
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
And you hear Finn's voice. We're on Star Tours. Finn's like, "Star Tours, what are you doing here? Stay low. Stay out of the way." We're right behind him. And the X-wing, the TIE fighters are coming through, and they're shooting, and we get hit and slide in. And there's all kinds of Easter eggs thrown in.
Oh man.
That's
Kylo
great.
Ren is in a different one. There's one where we're actually in a fighting in the Battle of Naboo,
Oh.
and then it transports us. It's like mixed worlds. Now we're on Hoth. And we're
That's
flying
awesome.
under. We wreck, and
Oh,
we're
we
almost
didn't do
stepped
that.
on
No.
by a walker, and
That's awesome.
it is
That is amazing.
fantastic. So
That
fun.
is so cool.
Saw Ray, saw Chewie. I told Ray you said hi, Nate.
Hey, yeah.
saw
there we go.
Chewie. We had an encounter with
you remember?
Kylo and some First Order troopers.
This is
And
awesome.
my three of my kids this time, Savvy's Workshop, made their own lightsabers,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I shed a tear.
As you should.
It is.
As any
It
good
is a
father should.
beautiful
It
ceremony.
is amazing.
Nate and I got chills. You're in
It's
there,
awesome.
the lights go dark. All of a sudden, everyone's lifting the sabers. And
Oh,
you're hearing the
man.
history
Tells the
of each
story.
color and
The whole
different-
experience. Yeah, it's not
It's just-
just go in, pick a kyber crystal, pick your color,
No,
pick your
it's not
metals. It is
get
it's a
line to check
ceremony.
out and
yeah, it's a ceremony. It's
Yeah.
an entire experience.
It's so
It
good.
is so cool. Yeah.
My 5-year-old was. Oh, they were all dialed in. My 5-year-old was like,
awesome.
It
It's
was,
so
it was
fun.
calling to him.
it was
He was
calling to
feeling
him. They say, close your eyes, and he goes, and he had already chosen the color, which I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, because there's a reveal.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got
yeah.
to.
Close your eyes. What color? And then purr, 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 it's playing in the background. And then he had picked a color, and he opened his eyes. I said, "What color?" And he said immediately, "Same color." He didn't.
Yeah.
So it had already called to him.
Oh.
Oh man.
But it was fantastic.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Fantastic. Had a
That's
blast.
awesome.
Bright Suns, scrap metal,
Bright sun, scrap metal, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Chewy,
Clankers.
clankers,
Bunch of
clankers.
shinies.
shinies.
You got some
Hey.
Ronto wraps. You got it all.
Ronto wraps.
It was awesome.
Some blue milk.
Yeah,
Did you guys
man.
get some blue milk? Green milk?
We didn't.
Ah.
We
They were there for 9 days. They got
That's
plenty
true.
of stuff.
we got a lot of
You had
stuff.
to pace
though.
yourself.
Yeah.
Nate and I
We got a lot
had
of
one
stuff.
day at
That's
Galaxy's
true.
Edge,
You
one
did?
day in Disney, and we decided to spend the entire
The whole day.
the entire day there. So we were like, Well, if we're gonna eat today, it's gonna be Ronto wraps. That's
Ronto
what we had the
wraps.
whole day. We had them for
And
lunch
blue
and
milk.
dinner.
Blue milk.
Blue milk.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting a little thirsty. Well, I guess we'll switch it up. Green milk.
We had some
Right.
desserts too that were pretty good. I don't remember what they were called, but
Yep.
those were good too.
It was.
Man, we
oh,
tried to get into August Cantina months ahead. I couldn't get
Couldn't get in.
in.
Wow. Yeah.
And yet, I heard that when Galaxy's Edge came out, some people were saying that it was going to be a failure and disappointing. But it's
Big flop.
booked months in advance, and it's incredible.
We did
So,
bring some eggs. We egged the Galactic Star Cruiser on our way out.
I was going to say that's the one thing that's.
It was taken off. We caught it just on the
We
egged the boosters.
Star Cruiser. Did that kid open the door and go, "No way"?
Hey, Mara, I'm so excited to ride it.
so excited. Oh, boy, a real carton of eggs. Right in the head.
No, we didn't do that.
No.
We didn't even see it.
We're
It's back
kidding.
behind.
We
It's
hope
off-world.
it's going to be great.
It is. I think you got to enter from. It's back behind Smuggler's Run.
It's
back
off-world.
there.
It's off
Oh
world.
man, that's great.
We got some video. Maybe we'll put it on our channel somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
We got a video of the
got
whole
to.
ceremony.
Oh,
we
we'll
got
have to put that.
we got
up.
video of our encounter with Kylo.
Ah,
I got some passing video. Ray is at the top of this thing, not saying a word. We're just walking through. And one of my kids goes, Ray's up there. I look up. She's just sitting up there looking down. With the whole COVID stuff, they're not
yeah,
mingling as
Yeah.
much, you know?
yeah,
Which is weird because Kylo's masked up.
It's true.
yeah, true.
So I don't know.
But
it
all he
was,
does is tell people to move out of the way.
That's right. Move along.
Move
Move along.
Right.
Move along.
Move
He
aside.
accused one girl of being a spy. She was like 3. Like, it's kind of harsh.
He's like, wow, that's.
It's kind of harsh. Or he's like,
You sure it's not
Yeah,
any of
the
these
first
adults
order.
over here?
right.
It's you.
And then he's like, what girl? And I was like, not that girl. She's got a unicorn pink jacket on.
the girl.
Bring me the girl.
What
That's great.
What could
That's
you want from
funny.
me?
Oh man,
So it
Oh,
was
man.
fantastic. It was great.
that's great.
Had a blast.
Well, we're happy to have you back.
Yeah.
Sorry
we
I missed
you
last week.
You
We
know?
walked.
But our ratings tanked. No.
You know how many
I don't
people
believe
commented, Uncle's not here, I'm out.
Goes not here. No,
See you
I'm
next
sure you
week.
did fine. We walked like an average of like 11 miles a day.
Oh,
We
man.
spent 7 park days. Do the math. It was brutal. And the 5-year-old did not ride in a stroller once.
I was going to ask,
Oh,
how
man.
did he survive?
Killer. He was awesome.
He was
is he
running,
now
too.
going to crash for like
Force
a week
is
straight?
strong. He fell asleep at 7 o'clock today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Long day today.
Man. That's
Man.
awesome.
that's great. We could talk Galaxy's Edge all day.
We
Our
could.
experiences. I'm excited to see the lightsaber.
Can we
Kyber
do it?
crystal
Can we do?
reveal.
Can we go? All of us go next year?
I
I
think
do
so.
want
We got
to.
Oh man, just trying
my
to.
wife,
to.
Abigail, has not been yet.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been
She's
twice.
a,
I
she's a
haven't been
huge
second
Potter
time.
fan too.
Huge Potter fan.
So gotta do
and
that
she's
part.
she's a Star Wars fan. She's even keeping up with
Boba?
Book of Boba. I
Yeah.
mean, and loves Mandalorian.
Book of
Watched
Mando.
every
Book of
episode,
Mando.
which we'll get to.
Now you guys,
So-
I missed the episode you guys did on chapter 4.
Chapter 4.
Well, you're in luck because we actually remembered everything we said last
Perfect.
week. And before we get to anything on today's
I'll
episode,
just watch.
we're
it.
gonna redo our 2-hour
Awesome.
little. Well,
You went 2
unfortunately,
hours.
Unfortunately, because you weren't here last week, this rehearsal only involved me and Nate. So you will sit there for 2 hours as we as we recite everything we said.
Sure.
Our script.
I could do that.
No, but you're right. We didn't.
Hey,
We didn't get to discuss any of last week's. If we wanted to do a 2-minute brief with anything from last week's chapter, if we wanted to, or just dive into today,
yeah.
whatever you're
Dive
feeling.
into today.
Let's do it
Let's do it.
this
Because I
is-
feel like we got a lot
This is about
to
them.
cover.
This is about them.
We can do it after.
That's
and
true.
and
I got a monster, and I got no place
Yeah.
to go.
Same.
So
you know what?
I'll just be rewatching this all night. So that rewatching
And like
this chapter.
like we said at the beginning of this podcast, our show, we have not talked even off air
no.
about it. I mean, I think Nate and I had
We
2
saw each
texts
other.
and nothing of specifics of just like, did you watch it? Yes. Can't wait to talk about it tonight. Boom. We saw each other upstairs and we're like, so much to talk about. And you're like,
we were going to
yes.
jump in immediately.
And the thing is, I
Yeah.
want to save it all for the show.
Right.
So great.
we don't talk at all anymore.
No.
If
I
it's
was
not on the
wondering-
cast. Don't even talk to me.
Yeah.
No,
I
I'm
was
just kidding.
actually no. I was wondering how you were doing mentally and physically. I had no clue because I was about to say, "Hey, Uncle, what's up?" But instead I said, Hey, Uncle,
Save it for the cast.
save it for the cast.
Save it for the cast.
Heartache, save it for the
Save
cast.
it for the cast.
That's the
Be
shirt.
Our first
That's
merch.
our first merch. Right
First
there.
merch. Save it for the cast.
WG, save it for the cast.
Star Wars
Enough
guys,
chit
save it
chat.
for the
Save it
cast.
for the cast.
Yeah, really.
Amazing.
All right,
Shall we dive into it? Oh, man.
let's do it. There's a lot. To
Hopefully by now, those of you that have tuned in have watched Chapter 5, Return of the Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian.
Which, by the way, could this have just been titled Season 3, Chapter 1 of The Mandalorian? Or
It could have, but I will say, and we'll get to this. I think this is very much. I get the Mando 2.5, and what's funny is there were rumors over the. I think we've even talked Boba Fett's a while back,
oh yeah,
and I said
How soon?
I
will
don't know
Mando-
if and
How
I-
soon does Mando
how
show-
soon
There's
does
been rumors that
Mando,
he
and
was
there were
gonna be in
rumors
it,
that he would tie in.
Mhm.
But what's funny is some of the words, some of the phrasing
Yeah.
when it was announced there'd be a Book of Boba Fett and that there would be this kind of Mando verse. Some people were even claiming when they heard that
Mandoverse.
Mando would be attached to this, the overall thought was like, well, maybe Book of Boba Fett's just like a Mando 2.5 before, like season 2.5 instead before season 3, and that's what this chapter certainly feels like. But I contend that this very much ties into all the themes and the big story
Yeah.
and everything that's going on with both Boba and Mando, even though we spend the chapter with Mando.
yeah,
Yep.
Even the struggles Mando is going through and the things that they show us. There's a reason why they didn't just cut to the end scene here
right,
of, oh, we somehow reached out to him and Fennec shows up and talks to Mando at the very end, and we just get a whole episode with Boba and Chrysanthemum and the Mos Vespas
yeah,
and all this crew, and then all of a sudden Mando shows up.
We need
There's
that
a
stuff.
reason why they show what's been going on and the things he's dealing with, because I think that's important with how he's going to help, interactions, conversations they're going to have, what their vibe is as far as what he's going through.
Well, he lost his gig,
Lost his gig.
so
Yeah.
he's got no attachments now.
Exactly.
Right.
He needed to sever that to allow him to then.
For sure. Yeah.
He's open.
yeah.
So before we dive into specifics, because I almost started taking us down a rabbit hole there. Overall, just thoughts, feelings, takeaways, before we even dive into specific things that happened, just overall quickly around
yeah.
Uncle, thoughts on the episode, feelings, how you liked it.
It was stark. Like we even in they mentioned, I think it was the chapters are running together. But
Yeah.
they even mentioned what we were thinking that Boba Fett feels like a almost a softer, gentler, kinder.
Yeah.
And then Fennec Shan says they made you soft.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Phoenix says it.
And then we come to Mando, and it is brutal,
Brutal.
ruthless,
From the get-go.
slicing in half
Within
with
the
the
first
dark
5 minutes.
saber.
I went back.
This is not Grogu's daddy.
This is not.
Even-
this is
this
something
is-
else.
Even
This is
just
like,
the first shot of us seeing Mando, they intentionally have him dark shadow behind
Right.
curtains.
yeah.
Like that's like the first shot we see of him, and I counted because I watched it twice. Second viewing, 10 seconds into the episode, we see Mando shadow behind the curtains.
Right.
Like,
That's it.
right off the get go, we see. All right, there's the mood, there's the tone for this next
Yeah.
scene,
And this
for
is
the rest
this
of this,
is
this
Mando episode chapter 1, season 1. That's that guy.
Yeah,
That's what he
What's-
looks like.
And what's funny is
same lines.
same lines.
Yes.
Yeah,
This shows, and it's intentional,
Gunslinger,
not just a cool
going for the-
callback.
yeah.
This is
No.
to try to show you also what happens. And Uncle was I think hitting the nail on the head there as far as he is struggling again. Even though he's doing a bounty mission sort of thing there to try to get information, we find out
Right.
right after that. It's not just he wants credits, because
He's
he actually makes it
carrying
very
the guy's
clear.
head in a bag.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's doing this to try to get information to find the other Mandalorians
Yeah.
and get some
Right.
information, but also he's worried about Grogu. The
Yeah.
whole thing that we've wondered, and this is why this chapter's there's so many reasons why this chapter is so great, but it immediately gets into the headspace of we've wondered what the big thing we've said about the thing with Mando season 3 is we don't even know where
Where's it
it's
going?
headed. It's
No.
very obvious
we
with the first
speculate.
2
We actually
seasons.
speculated Mandalore because the
We
dark
said
saber.
Mandalore.
Because
And
the
they
dark
address
saber
a
cliffhanger.
heck of a lot
Oh,
of that in this
man.
chapter.
Yeah.
But we were like, other than that, where is he? Because we're like, does he want that? We're like, we don't know. Boba is very specific as far as
Right.
I'm the crime lord. I want to do this. This is my mission. And then they filled in, especially I think it was in chapter 4, I think, where Fennec finally had these conversations with him, like, why do you want this? And he starts getting into the whole, I'm tired of serving these idiots that essentially what happened to you, Fennec? You're shot by a wannabe punk
because you're in the wrong. You shouldn't even be there.
Exactly. You're shot by him out because of all this dangerous world you live in. This is your downfall.
Situation,
right. Yeah. I have joked around on here a bunch. I, as Boba Fett, fall in the Sarlacc and die in a burp. Like, that's literally, I'm the greatest bounty hunter in the world. And this is because this is the crowd we run with. These are the people we listen to.
I hadn't thought of that. That's true.
We're listening to these people.
They're in these positions because idiots put them there and they do it for money.
They do it for money.
And they're better than that.
Yeah. And so then when he finally has these conversations with her, and he's like, because we're good at what we do, basically cut out the middleman. Why are we following these people? Why don't we become the person?
Yeah.
Then we will not fall into the same trappings we had before because we'll restructure the way things go. If we're good at what we do, we can still do it and make everyone happy. And yes, you're going to create some new targets on your back, but you're also not going to walk into traps that other people have set for you have no recourse or course of action because you're the one at the top now, and you'll get a crew around you. And you've got all this stuff. But that was a big conversation that we talked about before. But now Mando completes his mission to get Grogu there.
Yep.
And then now is like, well, now what? And it's funny because there's a lot of real world stuff there too of like someone who's like, hey, I don't want to bother you, but I'm just checking in to see if you're okay. Like that's Mando's state of mind is like, I don't want to go get Grogu back. I just want to check in, see if he's okay, see if he remembers me. Yeah. And man, there's so much stuff there.
Well, you know why the mafia was so successful is because the family was not based on money. It was actually based on family, loyalty. Yeah, that's what Boba Fett gets at.
Yeah.
So it's significant that Fennec Shand is not doing this for money.
Right.
It's significant that Mando clearly said he is not doing this for money.
Same with Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
I'm not doing it for money.
And doesn't Black Chrysanthemum have a loyalty now to Boba Fett for sparing him? So Boba understands when he set him free, he was doing it to build potentially a loyalty factor that later plays in. It's better than money.
The exact words he says to Fennec too was that I can offer something you've never gotten before.
That's right.
Loyalty. You get someone who actually be with you. I would die for you.
That's what
if
a
you
family
work with me.
Yeah. And the fact that he let Black Chrysanthemum go the first time. He didn't immediately recruit him then. He said, hey, don't listen to these idiots. Don't listen to that.
That's right.
Just learn this lesson. You failed on this mission. Go on. I'm going to let you free. But letting him go that first time, then when he sees him again, now he's got even more respect for him. Is like, maybe I do want to work for this guy.
That's right.
Because he knows what he's doing. But yeah, I think it was interesting tying those aspects into this episode of Book of Boba Fett with the start of Mando. I thought it was very unique that the whole last chapter was revolving around that and Boba and talking about breaking away from being a bounty hunter. And then here, right off the bat, we find out, oh, Mando went right back to being a bounty hunter.
He's back at it.
He was just the complete opposite.
Yep.
Went from he had a purpose, had a mission with doing this stuff, kind of broke away from the creed. And now he's like, well, now what? I'm right back into it. And then we find out it's more than just the bounty hunter stuff. Yeah. It was to lead him down the path of finding the other Mandalorians. But I just thought it was interesting that those were just episode right after is the complete opposite.
But that contrast between the intentional opening of this episode,
it was designed to be striking.
He's behind the curtain. His entrance is very similar to when he walks around in that first little pub area when he gets
injury.
When he gets
bad injury.
When he gets the mithril the first time. In the first chapter, it's very similar, and then it's the whole I can bring you in warm, I can bring you in cold.
Yeah.
He does the same thing, and then the brutality of his first fight he had in chapter 1 was essentially his most brutal. In chapter 1 was when he's shooting people this, and he pulls the guy through the door and has him snap in half, cuts in half. Ends with the guy getting cut in half.
Right.
This literally ends with the guy getting cut in half.
Yeah.
But now he's got an even more powerful weapon that's kind of used in a manner that it's not intended for. Meaning the dark saber is not a bounty hunter's weapon.
No.
Right.
This is for a leader. And we get into that more in this chapter. But also, it's interesting the way that they kind of mirror what Boba is in chapter 4. Boba in his talk with Fennec is when she's making all these kind of little cracks about like, oh, the Tuscans made you weak, and we talked about this a little bit. He says, no, essentially they made me strong. What I learned is, and I'm paraphrasing now, is that I'm stronger with a tribe. You're stronger with the people around you, and that's why we need to build up a force.
Right.
There's a lot of this in Mando of, well, he kind of had his group around him. It was even helping him as a person, and like he was learning that he didn't necessarily have to do things the way he was doing them, and had kind of more of a humanity about him. And I would argue, and I think we've even argued on the podcast, that between Boba and Mando, pre this episode, we would say, well, of the history of both of them, it seems much more likely that Boba would be obviously more brutal. We saw him even in the Mandalorian episode. We're like, he's more brutal. He is more inherently kind of what we know from just the past, more of a selfish kind of about me. He has a code, but he's brutal. He wants to be a crime lord. We feel like Mando would never really do that.
Right.
And then they open with the beginning of this chapter, and Mando is more brutal than we've seen Boba at all in this. Even though the previous chapter, I guess Boba
he did mow those down.
Mows down all of the bikers, and you're like, well, there's Boba also.
Yeah.
That's him. Yeah.
But the fact that this was so alarming, how brutal Mando is right at the beginning, you're immediately like, well, we're getting caught up on what's going on with him mentally, and him kind of not lost his way. He's now like lost his purpose. He's trying to figure out what to do now. Yeah. And just overall, I loved. Yeah. Man, it's an understatement to say I loved this chapter, because I think it very much tied into Boba's story. And a lot of shows do this, where it kind of goes and focuses on a specific character for a chapter. But this did have the spectacle. It felt very expensive. Didn't the chapter feel big in scope? And again, part of that is because it was off-world. It wasn't on Tatooine.
Right.
But it felt, and kudos to Favreau for writing it, but also Bryce Dallas Howard for directing the crap out of this chapter. It was so good.
So good.
Yeah, loved it.
No, I think overall it was one of, if not my favorite live-action Star Wars episodes, TV episodes. It's weird saying that about a Book of Boba Fett when the whole thing was Mando.
Right.
But I think it was more than the fact that it was just Mando. We haven't seen him in a while. It was the actual content that we got, the information that we've all been kind of wondering. I think I even took some notes, and we'll get into each of these.
I gotta up my game. You guys are writing stuff down.
I had to.
I mainly wrote down some quotes, though, because there's some long quotes by the armorer in this. Yeah. I'm like, well, I need to know about that because of the history of Mandalore and things of where things are headed.
I'm all ears. I want to learn something.
I was gonna say we'll get into each of these aspects, but just overall take on the episode, I think it was a good balance of some fan service. It wasn't super over the top stuff. It wasn't like a high ground moment, like from Mando.
I thought that
it wasn't kind of like that, but it was like the stuff that they did throughout that you're like, oh, you could say that was a little fan servicey, but it actually fit the storyline. Like it made sense.
BD1.
There's so many references.
I wrote stuff down. Yeah, I said Mando, Dark Saber, BD droid, BD1.
Yeah.
The N1 starfighter.
Yeah.
Naboo.
Pod racing track.
Right.
Beggars Canyon.
That fly through pod racing
Beggars Canyon. Womp rat.
Did you see in Beggars? Did you see
in Womp
rat an actual Womp rat?
They're not bigger than 2 meters.
Yeah.
Did you see Beggar? The bet. Who would have Boba bet before this chapter that we would get a mention of Beggars Canyon and Womp Rat,
and he would fly through
in the same thing, and he would fly through it, and it would be Mando. It's
in
not
an
even
N1.
in a Naboo N1 starfighter.
N1 starfighter.
With a Jedi Fallen Order droid. All of this stuff is right there. While Pelly mentions that this ship will go faster than a Fathier, which is from The Last Jedi.
It's unbelievable.
It was like they literally nailed
so many
and
things.
but like you said, each of those I wasn't like I was just having so much fun. I was like, Fathier, that's Canto Bite. And then they'd say that and I'm like, Naboo.
Right. No, I was gonna say, and on top of all that, we also get a touch and not just a touch, huge history on Mandalore. The Purge. We get way more information and actual footage. We get shots from it too, not just storytelling. And then finish it all off with a tease of seeing Grogu again. It's like this whole thing, and we'll touch on each of those
There's
moments.
So much, yeah.
All of that stuff, even though it was all based on Boba, or all based on Mando, in the Book of Boba Fett, it fit the storyline so perfectly when you're throwing those things out.
Were you guys aware of the Jedi that forged the Darksaber? Is that a name? Is that something that's in a comic or something book?
Yeah, I think it's
before?
mentioned in. Is it Rebels?
I
The
can't remember if they
Mandalorian
I
Jedi?
thought they
They
mentioned
show the history of
they
it.
show the history in Rebels when Sabine
Yeah.
gets the Darksaber
I'll
and
have
then
to go watch it
eventually
again.
yields it not by force,
Right.
gives
Yeah.
it, and they get into that
They talk about it with Death Watch
to
too.
Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
There is, I think, in the caves they talk
In
about
the
the
caves,
history
yeah.
of it, but I couldn't remember the exact. And again, it's been a couple of years now since I initially saw
Yeah.
Have to
Rebels the
rewatch it.
first time, which was even before I saw Clone Wars. So there's a lot of Star Wars in between that time period where I
Yeah.
didn't remember Tar Vizsla
Vizsla.
as much as I knew the name Vizsla because
Mhm.
Pre Vizsla was voiced
Pre-Vizsla.
by
Favreau.
Johnny Favreau
Yep.
in the Clone Wars.
Yep.
And then
I like how you call
we
him
have
Johnny.
Johnny
Johnny
Fav,
Fav.
and then Paz Vizsla.
J-Fav.
Paz Vizsla.
Paz.
Yep.
Paz.
Paz. Yeah.
Paz.
Paz.
And then we learned Paz Vizsla, according to the armor, is now one of only 3 Mandalorians remaining.
From their
From their crew.
creed.
But she claims
yeah.
that not including Bo-Katan.
True.
and
From the
theirs.
way.
From
True,
the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Which we will also get
We'll
into.
touch on that.
Mandos.
Which
The
we'll
cult-
get into.
cult
The
Mandos.
armor being a possible unreliable narrator. With her
Clearly.
clearly unreliable.
Something is right.
Cult leaders are,
Clearly,
in my experience,
in your experience,
Right.
cult leaders are usually unreliable.
Yeah.
Just by the mere fact that they lead a cult, which is
Yeah.
usually not a good thing.
Usually built on the idea
Um,
of false leading people.
False leading people. But it's very interesting trying to, even as an audience member, knowing, like, feeling, what are words? Seeing the things that she's saying to Mando, but then also knowing what we know from Rebels, we're like, wow, so they're really painting, not the Bo-Katan, especially in the Clone Wars era,
Yeah.
had
Right.
gone through a lot of things, Death Watch and all of this stuff. She has this big growth arc throughout Rebels, and
Yeah.
it's an actual ceremonious
Passing.
passing of the
Yeah.
torch when she receives the Darksaber. Everyone, like, she raises the blade. All these people like pledge their allegiance to her, and they were like, "Yes, we believe in you. You're our rightful." But and then tragedy happens, and it doesn't end up working. But it's interesting that the armor, she's like, she
Blames
might as
her.
well be spitting venom out of her mouth whenever
Yeah.
she talks about the Krees and like the
Right.
actual her family,
Yeah.
and she essentially she doesn't mention Satine by name, but she's like her and then her sister, and then they led us astray, and it's
Right.
basically she's like
Basically, they said they're cursed.
they're cursed
And that
because
those of
she
us
was not
that-
the rightful
Right.
yeah
Those of us that survived were only the ones that followed the way,
yeah
and
it's-
that
ugh.
because they weren't the people who followed the way, escaped the curse of what happened to on the Purge of Mandalore. Yeah, it's interesting because there's a part of her that's like, there's just I've been saying it since day one that she's gonna be bad. There's something off about her, but more than that, there's a side of her that's confusing because she is good in a way too with the whole how she handles Grogu
Mhm.
and Mando about we'll go like she does.
Well, Grogu is considered a foundling, I guess.
Right,
Mhm.
right, and maybe that's all just a scheme because she's like, here's a powerful person I want on our side.
Yeah, maybe.
But she is very like Mando, like go do your thing. I don't know. It's
I
very-
speculate though that from hearing there in this scene upon second watch, Children of the Watch, I believe that she is inhibiting his growth and is intentionally worried about him turning on her.
I agree.
Couple reasons I say that. One, just her language she's using around
Yeah.
around him when she's talking about the Jedi and all of this stuff, and essentially, oh, you finished your mission, great, come back home and help us rebuild. And he's like, this is the way, and starts talking to her and all this stuff. Then she asks about the Beskar spear, and talks about yes, that it can even block you can block a lightsaber,
Yeah.
and this is a great thing. She said, and it can also pierce Beskar armor. It's a threat to all of us just to even have it. Let me melt that for you. Essentially, I don't want that ever coming anywhere near me. Even
Guess
though,
what?
even though
She
I
has-
should trust you, you're with us.
That kind of felt like a plot device to me, a little bit.
Yeah.
Because if he only has one weapon,
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna have to use the Darksaber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he has that Beskar spear,
He's
can
always
rely
got
on
that too.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of took that off
Sure.
of his, out of his
Yeah.
You just
weapon.
And I
made me-
think
But you're right.
The fact
it
that
felt
also,
manipulative to me.
and the fact that it was also immediately when he said, "I got this from a Jedi."
Yeah.
Right.
Great. We need to get rid of that.
Yeah.
We don't want anything.
trust
We
the
don't
Jedi.
trust the Jedi. You're
Mhm.
talking with Jedi. I'm not good
Yeah.
with that. But then it's interesting because she offers up some things about Tar Vizsla was both a Mandalorian and a Jedi,
Yeah.
and talks about how that was possible and that he created the Darksaber 1,000 years ago. Mandalorians had been around for 10,000 years, but
Talk
over
about the
1,000 years
Empire that
ago.
lasted 30 years.
30
right?
years. That was a good line too.
Yeah.
Like they talk about the
Yeah.
Empire lasted 30 years, and
Mhm.
we've been around for 10,000. But one of the things, a couple things I was kind of writing down upon rewatches when he's struggling with trying to find out what his mission is, where he's going now. And she has a quote of persistence without insight will lead to the same outcome.
Yeah.
And on the surface, I'm like, kind of helpful as far as like, there's some truth to that of like,
Yeah.
if I keep banging my head against the wall and the door is open over
Dr.
there.
Phil.
Yeah.
Know what definition of insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, decent line. But then when it's just a few things whenever he keeps talking about essentially he is kind of sharing some of the things about his experience and with the Jedi and where he is personally, and she keeps going back to this time. Essentially her feelings are the original born Mandalorians, because there's the ones who kind of are by creed, and she's mentioning creed, and then there's the ones who are born. She's essentially like the ones who are born, not us, the ones who are born Mandalorians, they ruined this.
Yeah.
The ones who are actually devoted like us,
who follow
who
this set of
actually
rules.
follow this set of rules, we survived. So
Yeah.
it's not at all that
Yeah.
that we need to go back in. Anyone who opposes us, we need to. It's not that we need to stop the violence. We should have continued to impose violence on these people because they're the ones who led us astray.
Mhm.
And
got
Bo-Katan is a cautionary tale and is
Yeah.
saying all this stuff. And there's some truth to that as far as some of the things Bo-Katan's gone through. But she
Right.
does not feel, well, one, we just know that she's lied to him as far as these are the things, you have to do this, all this. And it's gotten them to them living their life as they're living in fear. They're hiding in, the back alley of factories and in underground, all this stuff. This is their life where Bo-Katan's out in the world and she's open. She's taking her helmet off. She's doing stuff.
She's flipping her hair in the wind.
Flipping her hair in the wind. She's
flying around.
aged remarkably well since the
Looks the
Clone
same.
Wars.
She's
But
doing
I'm
wonderful.
going on a tangent.
No.
Nate,
I think it's the sunshine.
I need to
actually.
back
That's
the tank or something
I
to
was-
recover from that.
I was gonna say you made me think of a couple things in that moment.
Get to the pod.
Get me to
The sons of Tatooine. Nobody says Tatooine better than Boba Fett.
Nobody.
Left to die on the sons of Tatooine. Tatooine. Boba Fett.
That whole scene is very interesting, and I noticed some things again upon rewatching this episode. The armor seems very Darth Maul like, and by that I mean hates the Empire because they used the Mandalorians in the past. The Empire used Death Watch. Maul used them for his purpose. They serve their purpose. Now what? Let's wipe them out. Let's go take them out. The Purge, destroy Mandalore.
Absolutes, right? Only a
Yeah.
Sith speaks in absolutes.
And
There you
Obi-Wan in this
And in
moment.
this moment.
And then also hates the Jedi just because of the history that they've had Mandalorians versus the Jedi in the
And now
past.
hates Mando.
Now hates Mando.
Because one time it took his
But I
helmet off.
also noticed more about her character
Well,
and a
couple
couple
times.
things. One, I think this was him finding them, right? So this is the first time Mando has seen them, right? Since then, because he thanks them for saving him in their event there.
Mhm.
Asks about, have you taken the helmet off?
Yeah.
So it seems like this is the first time he's seen them, right? He was looking for them. Him walking up, she immediately, facing the other way, knows about his wound and how bad it is. I thought that was very interesting. The first time I watched it, I didn't really catch it. The second time I noticed, wait a second, how'd you sense that his wound was that bad?
Yeah.
Like, was it just based off the hearing of the limp, all that thing? I've also noticed every time we see her, how is she sitting? She's sitting very like she's just sitting and like meditating. She's always meditating.
Yeah.
What other? I mean, we've seen Force users meditate, and we haven't seen a lot of other. Not that I'm not. I don't know if she's a Force user or not, but I just think it's very interesting her character and how she is with the stuff she says. She's very like intentional in the language she uses, how she acts, making sure everybody's following her way. She's always the one addressing it. They're always the one answering to her.
Yep.
I don't know. I just think it's really interesting.
Was she the one originally that said you need to send him back, Grogu, to his own kind? Wasn't she the one?
Yeah.
That can take care. Yeah.
And meaning his own kind, not meaning Grogu kind, Yoda kind, meaning Jedi.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Interesting.
I don't know. I just think it's interesting. And then I also noticed what you had mentioned, Mike, too, the destroying the Beskar, which I thought was unique. I did think, oh, well, maybe this is just so that it kind of leads the story to him using the dark saber
He has
a
to
lot more.
depend on that.
But I just thought it was interesting. Like, he just mentioned this is one of the greatest weapons ever forged. It's pure Beskar. It can pierce Beskar armor, and you don't want it on your side. I just thought it was very interesting.
It is, in a sense, it is a weapon to defeat
It is.
Yeah,
Mandalorians.
true.
It is.
Because you don't need.
True.
Those are who you want to pierce Beskar for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Most
that's
others
true.
don't
So
have
in that
Beskar.
sense,
true.
yeah, in
For
that
sure.
sense, like, but I
Yeah.
still feel like she feels a little devious to me, and
Yeah.
absolute. Those two.
Yeah,
I will say that she and Din Mando picked up on it is that essentially they flat out say that the Jedi and Mandalorians are conflicting religions.
yeah. They're the opposite.
And they're the opposite. And he even says his quote was they were talking about Jedi must forego all attachments and all
Right.
this
Right.
stuff,
Which
which
she's dissuading him from going to see Grogu.
yes, because he's worried. He goes there and all of a sudden he's even wants to give him a gift. That's that's an attachment.
Right.
There's a very good chance that Luke would be like,
Right.
sorry, no appointments at this time.
Yeah.
Close the door. I know it's really cute that it's even shaped in Grogu, which was
Right.
adorable. That was awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, the what the quote was, this is the opposite of our creed. This is the opposite of our creed. Loyalty and solidarity are the way. And everything was the way. He's right back into this is the way. Even though Bo-Katan had
Chirped in his ear a little
chirped
bit.
his ear
yeah.
and told him all this stuff, he's
Right,
right back
right.
to it. But
But
it was-
she agrees. She agrees. Like
she does. She agrees
when he says
there.
that, then she's like, "All right, let's turn this spear into armor or whatever it is for Grogu and go get it to him."
Yeah.
But I think it was a reminder. I thought was interesting was he's not letting go of the fact that they're still a Creed of 2.
Mhm.
That's what I thought was interesting
Yeah.
too.
Creed 2. You mean the boxing movie?
Creed 2, yeah,
Creed 2 is
Yeah.
awesome.
yeah.
Michael B. Jordan.
That's who actually the armor. That's a rumor, but
Is Michael B. Jordan?
yeah.
I could see
Voice
it.
modified.
Voice mod.
But no, I mean the
The
fact
mods.
that he wants to forge this, and he's saying that this is the way for our creed for the Mandalorians. He's basically saying that we're still a creed because in Mando she says you're a creed of 2.
Yeah.
This is your creed. You're a creed of 2,
Right.
and him acknowledging that I can use this, or if it's armor or something, I'm assuming it's armor because he said forge it into armor.
Yep.
Looked like it was gonna be chainmail
like
or
little
something like
chain or
that,
something
or
like-
some
yeah.
sort of
toy.
necklace or something.
I don't know.
But it definitely looked like chain
Chain,
links.
yeah. Something for him to wear. I thought it was interesting that it almost was him acknowledging, even though he's a Jedi, he is still saying the way of us Mandalorians are that we do have attachment
Mhm.
and we do have each other back, and this is the way. And because we're a creed of 2, it's okay for me to go do this.
That separation is another crucial step for Mando to realize there are other ways to live.
Yeah.
And instinctively, he knows that doesn't make sense, that I did it for a noble cause. And that's not good enough for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would he do it again? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's helping off again if he had to. So I think we've always talked about this idea of Mando progressing from robotic and cold to human, and Grogu is the path. Separate Grogu from Mando, and he's a notorious, ruthless killer
Mm-hmm.
to get what he wants. Put Grogu back in, he spares Moff Gideon.
Yeah.
Would this Mando have spared Moff Gideon?
Who?
No way.
Who the armor
Cut him in
and
two.
Paz Vizsla
Both
both give
Killing
him
would
trouble
have done
for.
justice, yeah.
That's exactly
like,
right.
I defeated Moff Gideon. I got it after defeating Moff Gideon. They said, "Did you kill him?" He's like, "No, but I sent him to the New Republic,
Right.
and he'll face trials and all this
That's
stuff."
the Mando with Grogu.
Grogu.
Yes.
That's who that is.
That's similar to like where we would see Boba right now.
That's
Where
right.
Boba has come to.
Yep.
Play it
Interesting too. They kind of teased up that maybe Moff Gideon's going to get away.
Yeah.
As
Maybe.
far as he said, like, but he will face. He's going to face justice for his crimes, and they're like, justice would have been executing him because of all this stuff, and he's
Stuff
like,
he
well, then
caused.
he will be executed for his crimes, and she goes,
Maybe.
Perhaps,
Right, perhaps.
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
But just it adds that
I
little. He's a
really
weasel.
think-
He might.
Yeah.
He's still
I-
got some people behind him.
I
enough,
really
enough
think
credits.
I think Grogu makes him a better man.
Yeah.
And I think he sees that, but the way is deep,
Yeah.
and it's hard to turn that off.
And
Mhm.
when Grogu's now gone, what else does he have, or what else does he know to turn to other than what I've always done?
And maybe
Yeah.
now Boba Fett.
And
Boba
maybe
Fett.
not Boba Fett, because Boba Fett's going around to all the bounty hunters and saying, "I got better offers for you."
That's right.
So,
Don't
yeah.
work for idiots.
I think it was a good
Don't
reminder.
work
of,
for idiots.
That's our next shirt.
It was a good
Like a
reminder
Mando.
that Mando's back to being a bounty hunter and
Right.
showing that he was collecting on a bounty, that type of thing, because it was tying to Boba saying
That's right.
there's better ways than being a bounty hunter.
Popovich is a great coach, but wouldn't you rather play for Steve Kerr? I mean, he's been in the battle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different vibe.
So he's a player's coach. Boba's a bounty hunter's crime lord.
Yeah.
He knows what it's like
Yeah.
on the trenches. So I don't know.
Get back to that first scene. I immediately thought of Rocky in the meat locker.
I
when
know.
he's-
Yes. For sure.
Like right when
Yeah.
they walk in and he's looking.
Grayish
I wanted
blue
to see him
tint.
go. I wanted to see in the background like, hey, look, I'm just trying to go the distance.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Just, yeah, absolutely. Like you looking for like a bounty? Because I listen, these guys all look like dogs, but I think that's the guy who might be looking. He's like,
They
woof,
did
woof,
have
really.
they did have a montage scene,
Yeah.
which didn't have the Rocky theme, but they had
I loved all
Where
the
does this go?
the like
Droid, where does this go?
It's the eye of the Grogu. It's the thrill of the fight.
the old like 50s hats. They had the hats and beanies on too.
Right.
The meat gang.
Yeah.
Got the biker gang and the meat gang with the aprons and the old hats and the
yeah. Right.
It's great.
Peaky Blinders hats.
Pick Paulie pulled, his flask out of it.
I know.
You always drink
Oh man.
That's where Chrysanthemum was hitting up the bar
Yeah,
last.
no. Yeah.
Mando,
What a great
Mando.
scene.
Boba looks over and is like, "Well, he's a drunk now. I think he needs a job.
Right.
I think he
I
needs
think
a
he needs
job."
a job.
Which we talked about a little bit in the last episode of the podcast. But the history of them going back to some novels and even I think in some of the comics is that
Trandoshans.
Trandosians and Wookiees just hate each other.
Yeah.
And they even
He's just
show
getting madder and madder. while
he's
they're
just
sitting
watching
there,
him and he's
just-
watching him get on this roll and winning and he wins again and he's like, I'm going to just
Destroy
I
these
hate
guys.
them.
And we finally got to see Han Solo's.
Arms.
Don't pull their arms out. of
Arms out of their
sockets
sockets when you lose. Black Chrysanthemum's known to do that.
He did. Yeah.
I love too
Yeah.
that it looks like
beautiful.
he's not going to because
Try to talk him out of
Garsa
it.
Webb is talking to him and she's like, "You're the great Chrysanthemum.
Beautiful.
You're
It was
Yeah.
working.
you know
I
all
was
you're
ready
doing."
to
And he's
give
like,
up.
"Yeah," and I was like,
Yeah.
"That's great. You are above this."
Then he remembered, but I can't.
Just
But
rips
then
him
again,
apart.
I can do it if I want to.
Which
What-
little known fact, Trandoshan's limbs grow back. Did you know this?
Yeah.
So painful, but he'll get it back.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
We just see a little arm next episode. Some
So we
guys
can-
walking. Some guys walking the streets of
So he
Mos
can
Espa,
do it
and he's got a
again.
little hand and regular arm.
He just
can
he
do
sees
it
he sees
again.
Chrysanthemum and just shuffles out of the scene. He's
Shuffles,
like, "Oh,
runs
I'm out of
away.
here."
No.
How many
Oh, man.
chapters do we have? 7.
7. We only
Yeah.
got 2 more.
We got a war coming.
Yeah.
Got a war coming. So let's get to. There's so much more in this chapter.
Yeah.
What were you
I
gonna
was just
say?
gonna say, going back to the Mando stuff, what was your guys' take on the lightsaber training, the dark saber training scene of it getting heavier? You're fighting against the saber.
I thought the armorer knows an awful lot about this stuff.
Yeah.
She does. That was interesting.
It's all got to be hearsay because how to.
That's
So
I wonder.
I get
So
it.
it immediately-
Somebody needs to be able to guide here.
yeah.
So from a plot point, from a story point, somebody has to be the wise one.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
in
he's just
their
floundering
culture,
around.
In
Yeah.
their culture, the
So-
armor is like the
they would
top
know.
of the totem pole because they're a warrior's culture. It's like
Right.
nothing.
Knows the history.
Weapons are part of weapons are my religion. Like because the armor is
Yeah.
the top as far as their sect.
Yeah.
And I think they even call it sect in this the way
Yeah.
they're talking about it. Their sect, the armor is the top. So I guess it would make sense that if anyone was to know something, that the armor
it did
would.
feel like the advice was hollow, though. It
Yeah.
felt like she was saying what you're not supposed to do, but not actually teaching him how to do it.
No, let's just keep going.
Don't do this.
Mhm.
Avoid this. You're not doing this.
And he wanted to keep training. She's like, nah, we'll pick up later.
You'll never get it because it's knowledge. And clearly, I don't think she had enough knowledge to help him.
Yeah.
What's interesting
Luke
is this. Luke might. They swap. Grogu comes back and he helps
He's
out,
a
and
master
now
of the dark saber, and Grogu's doing the saber.
Mando's
Here it
trying
is.
to fight the saber. What's funny is, I did not remember it, and then I heard someone mention it earlier today when I was listening just to some YouTube videos of someone covering it, and then I went back and saw the scene. I did remember that there's a scene in Rebels when Sabine is training how to use it
Love that
with
scene.
Kanan.
Ezra. and
Kanan is really
Yeah.
good.
And the counting in this foreign language that she was doing in this is the exact same thing that Kanan was saying to
Oh, wow.
Sabine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this counting of these steps and it's this training. So what's interesting is I don't know how she knows this stuff, but it is the same. It is similar. And now I think he was much better as a teacher as
She
far as
wasn't
like
able to get
she's
it
not
up.
able to be in touch with like
No.
be one with the force, be one with your weapon, feel it throw through. She's just like you're not connected to it. You need to be connected
Yeah.
to it or else it's heavy.
It's gonna beat you.
Which was fun because there are all these. That's the classic like fable storytelling myths too of like Sword in the Stone and like
Excalibur.
are you
Yeah,
exactly.
she made it seem
Are
very
you worthy
Elder
to wield
Wand.
it? Right.
Like,
so, but it's
like-
interesting when he was fighting how he accidentally hurt himself because of that. Because he's clumsy with it, and I was even wondering too. I was like, ooh, that was either a really cool tactic or is that super heavy? Where before he hurts himself, he's dragging it on the ground,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
just-
like spark, 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 and then lifts up and chops someone. I was like, that was really menacing, as
Yeah.
if like
yeah.
some just really super villain who's just trying
Right.
to intimidate someone and then kill him.
Yeah.
But then I noticed he's hurting himself, and I'm like, oh, he
Right.
just
Even swing,
he doesn't even know he's doing
Yeah.
that.
I think it's also a good reminder to that I think they're also trying to show us how elevated Jedi and even Sith, I guess, Force users are.
Right.
Because she's saying, the armor is saying though, like you can't fight against it. You know, you're fighting against the weapon. You got to be able to, basically connect with it, that type of thing. And then you look at a Jedi throw this lightsaber around with their eyes closed, blocking blasters behind their back. And it's like, I think they're also trying to show the difference between someone who's not force sensitive,
Right.
trying to learn to use a lightsaber, and really show you someone like Luke Skywalker who can just go in and destroy all these Death Troopers or Dark Troopers and stuff, and it just be like nothing. That how different that is because of how powerful they are with the Force. If he was
Yeah.
able to just walk out and be like, "Oh, I can catch on to this thing pretty easily,"
It was
you'd be
nice
like,
to
"Oh,
see. It was
Yeah.
nice to see
Yeah.
that it just doesn't work.
yeah,
This-
What's great, this is also
It
the
just takes-
Filoni effect of having him attached to, even though he didn't direct these, he's directing the next one.
Is he?
Yeah, I think it was announced that he's the director
You know what
of
that
the next
means?
one, which
Well,
is where
you know what that
everyone's like-
means? Ahsoka's gonna be in it.
Ahsoka's in it.
No, he's gonna announce at the in the end credits of the next scene that Ahsoka has been greenlit for 5
No, no.
seasons,
What if
and that they're
next
gonna have an Ahsoka verse and
What if next episode is no Boba again. That's all Ahsoka.
That'd be great.
The last time we ever see Boba is in the last 5 minutes. He rides
That
it
was
on
it.
the Rancor.
Like a
And just
Like a
falls straight
Bento.
into another Sarlacc pit with the Rancor this time.
Oh man.
But the Filoni effect of all this stuff is he knows
sorry,
all the
thought up
details
another
too.
one.
And one thing that was a part of the scene that I went back and was looking at from the Rebels scene is that it seems like a throwaway line, but this is where they take small stuff and expand on it in these shows. This is why these live action shows are awesome when they've got all these people that are involved that really love the stuff. But Filoni had a line in there that Sabine says when she first takes the Darksaber, she goes, "Whoa, this is heavier than I thought." And that's all it is. And Kanan, I don't even believe, gets into like, "Oh yeah, you have to be connected with it." Or nah, it's heavy.
No,
but
yeah.
he was, and then he tells her something about like, yeah, how when you're training you
Sure.
do this. But he didn't say like it gets progressively heavier. But they take that line, and now when they
Make
do it in
something.
this, it's something that's new, but it completely fits with what they set up
Interesting.
of. She didn't know why it was heavier or why it was heavier than she
Mhm.
expected.
Hmm.
But when he's struggling with it, you're like, oh, it's because it's heavier than I expected.
And
It
it's
doesn't-
interesting, Sabine. Young girl,
yeah.
yeah.
Mando can't swing it.
Moff
She's-
Gideon proficient at
Moff
it.
Gideon,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would love. Don't you want to see like a Moff Gideon just monologue of he's like, I've trained with the Darksaber. Yeah, I know the way of. And he's like,
Right.
I learned the balance of, and he knows like the science behind
Yeah.
it. And, like
Yeah.
had to study, and
Right.
I practiced on a few people and killed
Yeah.
them. Like, but like he has no trouble with it at all.
No,
Yeah. It's
But
interesting.
it
Do you
was
think
cool.
we
that-
thought of another, not an Easter egg, but a a moment when into the Sarlacc pit, seismic charge.
Seismic
Yeah.
charge.
That was a
Loved
great
it.
moment.
Yes, awesome. And the special edition of it all, mouth coming out and stuff like
Yeah.
that, grabbing the ship and trying to pull it in and stuff.
Right.
Just those are classic examples of them leaning into stuff that initially got some flack, or like some people that are like, oh, okay, the Sarlacc, like kind of a weak way for Boba to die, but now let's show it be really menacing and,
That's right.
and even scarier. And now you're like, well, he's pulling in he's pulling in the Slave One ship
Yeah.
into.
can't even fly away?
We
from
were
it?
in a-
we need a seismic charge to defeat this.
We
thing.
were in a shop.
Don't touch my buttons.
We were in a shop in Galaxy's Edge, and it had at the top it was the pit, right?
Mm.
And then at the bottom it was a 4-legged stomach, Sarlacc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the top was this mouth that could go up and out or
Wow.
down in, and it had tentacles that came up. It was basically rooted into the ground with four.
Huh.
It looked like 4 limbs coming out and a massive belly inside.
Awesome.
Wow.
Pit at the top and a mouth that comes in and out. Which that's what we saw
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
It's so great.
It was great.
Also, just touching on how the Beskar
Yeah.
saving his life. Otherwise, he would
And
have
the
been too
brine,
acidic.
which is slowly digested over 1,000 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Boba Fett needed the back to tank because he was being slowly digested.
And being 100% complete.
That was the point.
Yeah.
He was
Yes.
still being digested by that stuff that
Totally.
had gotten
Yeah.
into him.
Yeah.
That slowly the back to tank had to. So he had to sleep in it
Heal his
Had
scars.
to get
all
to
that,
it. to get, because I think it was internal as well,
Yeah.
working through his system, eating his organs away.
Yeah. Because when he gets the
Yeah.
stuff off, his body the acid has
Gone.
All
The scars.
outside.
eroded his,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
he's scarred head
Right.
to toe there. Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
back to tank, he's not sleeping with a nose thing.
No.
Just breathing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
it's possible it's healing. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Luke was.
It's true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good
It's
question.
there's just
Oh, there's so
it'll
much.
be interesting to see.
Slave
So-
1? Was that 4 or 5?
4.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I mixed them together.
But you didn't
Yeah.
get a chance to talk about
I
it.
didn't get
Though.
a
That's
chance
right.
to talk about it.
That's right.
That was one of our big. I told
Fire spray.
Nate in our previous
Favorite
podcast
one.
episode 2 big questions, and this is why this makes sense. Why this chapter we had not seen even the smallest little glimpse of anything that was coming in this chapter.
Yeah.
Was that at the end of chapter 4 when we did our podcast? I was telling Nate, I said there's a lot of great stuff about that chapter, but one of the great things is that I think that it was all of the stuff that we had seen from the trailers was officially out because we finally had the meeting that I thought they would have on chapter 1 of all like the heads of the families, the meeting of the Don, like you know, the Don with all it's a Godfather meeting,
the 5 family, the 9
and
family.
exactly.
We can all be rich.
All be rich. Had that conversation. Got the ship back. Got Slave 1 back, and we were like, when is that going to happen? And showed where it was. It was cool about them going to get it and like that whole thing.
Fantastic.
This chapter also had some of these small. This chapter 5, the Book of Mando, had
I love the Book of Mando.
which I don't say it as a criticism at all. One thing is because I heard some people even on the internet like, oh, is it alarming or is it a bad thing that the greatest, in a lot of people's minds, the greatest chapter of the show so far is one that didn't even include the main character?
Yeah.
I would contend that that's actually not a bad thing at all because there's going to be great stuff coming and it's set up through all the storytelling that's
you
been
think
going on
Favreau
around
is
it.
not going to have Boba come in at some point in the next 2 chapters and just have his moment, like a big moment?
But this is consistent with even Mando in 2 of the greatest chapters
in Mando.
2 of them. One, the tragedy. Everyone's like, the Boba Fett episode, we finally got it.
Right.
No one was like, oh, I love that episode because it was Mando's best episode. It was like, no, did you see Boba? Did you see this? Even though there's Mando and Grogu stuff, that's really important.
It was Boba Fett return.
Everyone's talking about, oh, and Boba's so brutal, and this, and Slave 1 comes in. Awesome. And then, of course, chapter 16, when Luke shows up.
Yeah.
Even though I would contend, I think that it's Pedro Pascal's best acting and best Mando stuff, his emotional, to me, the moment of him taking off the helmet, talking to Grogu, to me was as special as even Luke coming in. Like it was such a big build up of 2 seasons.
For that. Yeah.
It was moving. I was like in tears watching it. Just like I was so excited for Luke, I was also like, take off your helmet. Take off your helmet. This is the moment. And he does it. Talks
it's a message to Mando, too.
It's this whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing.
And yet, no one after that was like, well, is it alarming that they had to bring in Luke Skywalker to make Mandalorian have a good finale? Everyone was like, no, that first of all, it made sense story-wise.
Right.
That's the difference between just planned fan service that doesn't make any sense or doesn't add anything. This makes sense. Boba just worked and helped Mando. Let's be honest, Boba helped above and beyond to get his armor back. He was like, I'm going to help you get this child all the way back to where he needs to go, and then we'll be even for the armor. He puts his life in harm's way tons of times to help Mando. I love at the end of this chapter when Fennec throws him the money and says Boba Fett, he needs his help, and he's like, tell him this one's on the house. He's like, this is more about like, this is a friend helping a friend. This is you've already helped me. Yeah, I don't need your money. I'm not doing this for money. I'll do this because of loyalty to you and all of that stuff. But
and what they did for him with
there's also other shows that have done this too. WandaVision chapter 3 of WandaVision didn't even have Wanda or Vision in it, other than a flashback. It was all about the agent and the separate stuff that was going on. So Disney's done this with other shows.
Sure,
I think it's very much consistent. But it's also setting up what we needed to get to where we were.
I will say this: it was unique in the fact that it was. Like
having said that, I was very surprised by it.
Even those other episodes, like even the Boba Fett episode of Mando, it started with Mando and
and then it veered off into this thing.
But here's the thing: we gotta get. I think it's cool because we're bending what these are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I think that's why they call it the Book of Boba Fett. These are things that are all a part of the story, but it's not Boba Fett. It's the Book of Boba Fett.
Have you read Light of the Jedi? You
right.
jump all over the place.
Absolutely. These are elements that play into the story of Boba Fett.
Right.
But
this is all the story, though.
That's
yeah,
right.
that's
but
what
it's
you're
not.
on. Yeah.
It's Boba Fett. It's also Mandalorian. It's
Totally.
also it's also Ahsoka. It's also we're putting, and they've talked about all these coming together.
Yeah.
So this is the Book of Boba Fett, but it's Civil War. It's Age of Ultron. It's
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Spider-Man Far From Home. It's all of these together. They're working together for a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna be awesome. And we need all that stuff. We need these things not just for Mando stuff, all of this stuff plays into the. I don't know if we mentioned this already. He's lost his tribe. Mando is now free
Yeah.
to do whatever.
Yeah.
He's lost the Beskar weapon, so now he's reliant upon his other tools, but moving toward reliance upon the dark
Mhm.
saber. He learned the history of the dark saber. He learned more about the order of the Jedi and the detachment, which is putting distance between he and Grogu. There's tension. Is Grogu gonna still want to be with him?
Yeah, would Luke allow it?
Right.
Would Luke even be like,
That's
"Hey,
right.
listen, I get
Yeah.
you have the best intentions. You can't mess with him during this training stage. I've heard tales of what happened to my father.
Absolutely.
You can't do that.
So when
Yeah.
we start Mando season 3, we've got context.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we've also got reasons for him to be going with Boba Fett. Now it frees all of that up. So we now know his mission. Eventually, Mando wants to go see the child. That's part of it.
Right.
Mhm.
But right now, he's going to be going with Boba Fett. That also means now that Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, any of those, Black Chrysanthemum could end up with Mando
Yeah.
sometime down the road because it's
Yeah.
connecting all these pieces.
They could also be, the
great.
timeline could be, because it ends, the last beat of this chapter is he's going to go help Boba, but first, I got to go see a little friend of mine.
That's
That
right.
made it sound like, okay, so first I need to go see Grogu because I've got the thing I need to deliver him.
Yeah.
And then I'm coming back and Boba and Fennec, I'm yours, I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
Which then we do know he also has been given this mission by the armorer of like, you're not a Mandalorian anymore, but you can essentially redeem
go
yourself and
to-
reclaim your name
yeah.
by going to
The living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore.
The Mines of Moria.
No.
Moria.
My cousin
Right,
John will give us
meet
a
on the
royal
road.
welcome. Razor sharp rocks.
no, not the man.
Belloc.
Lord of the Rings reference there.
Belloc.
So because of that, though, it could be
Yeah.
timeline. In this, Uncle just nailed something I want to talk about. Is what this chapter revealed to me above anything is that this is all they've laid out the map, and this just gets me so excited because you see people talk about all the time about having things planned out or like what's the big thing or are
Right.
they just playing it?
Right.
Is this a small confined Boba Fett story? Yes, as far as what's going on in Tatooine. But as far as the state of the galaxy and this Mandoverse of
It's
characters,
leading to a lot bigger things.
it's all connected. We got Carson Teva back. You've
Beautiful.
got
I mean,
all of
yeah.
this stuff is showing that it's bleeding over, which is what Kathleen Kennedy said 2 years ago of a crossover event, an epic
Right.
thing is happening where these spin-off things, but they're going to come together. And I think the shocking thing though is that we didn't think, and this is what I almost teased pre-cast upstairs, was that if you were to ask me, I would have thought there's two options of this chapter going into it. One, they clearly teed up with the theme at the end of the previous
Yeah.
chapter. Mando was coming. I thought
Exactly with the team.
possibly this could be a chapter of Boba, Chrysanthemum. They're recruiting some other people. At the end of the chapter, Mando finally gets there. We head into chapter
Right.
6 and 7 with Mando on your side in a big epic thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or that it literally could be Mando's not in this one at all,
Mhm.
and that it's the following or even the finale
It's gonna
that
be
we're waiting on him
I
to
think it'll be
come
the
and get
finale.
there.
Yeah.
But then what ended up happening is they in the
first
first
thing.
30 seconds, I'm watching this and they go, well, they're opening with Mando. I was so wrong. This
Not
is
only that,
and
they're
then
sticking with him. I said, what
5
am I-
minutes
what
in,
am I
I'm-
watching here?
like
I know.
a few minutes into it, what's funny is a few minutes into it, I didn't even think like, are they going to jump back to Boba? The feel and everything
I'm
was,
not going anywhere.
we're following Mando this whole
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
And then as they start getting to Tatooine, you're like, oh, so this is why Pelly's involved, and this is why you're seeing a lot of Amy Sedaris, and this is how it's
Right.
going to tie in. But they shocked me the amount. It just surprises me in this day and age of spoilers and things getting leaked. How much Favreau and his team has been able to. I know some stuff
Keep
has been
everything a
leaked in
secret.
the past about Mando. No one had any clue about Luke. They kept that a
No.
secret, and it was unbelievable. No one had
Right.
any
Even
clue
the
about
scripts.
Grogu before the
Right.
first,
Right.
like
Yeah.
the biggest,
A baby Yoda? All
a
right.
baby Yoda.
Whatever
Like
it
the
is.
fact that they kept literally one of the
Yeah.
two major characters completely. They kept what the whole show was about, a secret.
Mm-hmm.
And then with this, people are wondering, is there going to be a Mando season 3? Is it delayed? When's it? There's been no news about it. Well,
Right.
that's because they're kind of already filming it. Like it's just it's probably morphed into something else, and still there is still going to be a Mando season 3, but Mando's story is already up and running, and we're getting a lot of the answers that we wanted at the beginning of season 3. We're already getting them, so we're like, where's season 3 going to go with Mando?
I keep going back to what needed to happen. If Mando is going to be coming back with Boba Fett, all of the things in that episode are the things that needed to happen. Another one of which is he needed a ship.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Him
exactly.
taking the bus is
That's
great.
not going to work.
Exactly.
You can't go on public transportation.
No.
He said that's the
So-
last time I give up my weapons.
Right. So he needed a ship.
Yeah.
So we had to have that. Otherwise, how does he?
Because
Too
one of
many
the questions we
questions.
brought up
Just
is how
What's he going to do?
does Boba go get him if he's in this, or does Mando come there? And
Does
if
it
so,
work?
how does that work? So we had those questions already, and they address it. Well, he's
Yeah.
coming back because he got called on. Hey, I heard your Razor Crest got blown up.
Right.
I got a replacement for you.
How about Pelly basically
So-
lying to him too, which was great. He's
That's
like, "You
awesome.
said you had a Razor Crest." I said, "No, I had a replacement for the
Replacement.
Razor
That's
Crest."
funny.
Oh,
Completely
also the
different.
replacement that I had, you got here a little earlier.
Got
than
here
I
a little
expected.
early.
It's not quite.
I haven't had a chance to work on it.
Right. I thought they were going to throw grease lightning on there when they were working on it.
I
As they roll
did
it out.
too.
Kanicki's got his hair going back.
The one piece was gonna come from the
Right.
ceiling and come.
Let's go,
I
Mando.
loved-
You're gonna
Hey, go Mando, go Mando.
on the nose. Go, Mando.
That's so great.
How about so let's
I
get
thought they were going to paint it. I guess that'd have been too far.
yeah.
I actually like that they
They
the
went
opposite
silver
way.
to go the Mando
They
route.
went, yeah,
They
he
kinda
went
went-
with the theme.
They made it
And it's an
Different, a little
homage.
yellow on there.
It's an homage to George Lucas because he loves
It's
old
all the hot
cars,
rod
Yeah.
thing.
fixing
It
a
is.
car up and
Yeah, exactly.
sure.
He's literally under the ship with BD as if it's like fixing a car.
BD can't pay attention. No, over here.
Yeah.
No, here. The light. Put the light. Can't see.
How about the fact that they highlight BD's stuff from Fallen Order too, with him being scanning the parts and then
Absolutely.
using the parts, and like even the animation of him like looking so perfectly up and down, like his movement,
Right.
everything was perfect.
And I'm
from
convinced
Fallen Order.
Amy Sedaris. I'm convinced Favreau's like, could you learn to talk like a Jawa? She's like, yeah, I can do it. Yeah. And then she did Frog Lady. She did Jawa.
Her character's grown on me so much
Oh,
too.
I
The
know.
first time it was
Hilarious.
almost a little jarring in the first time you see her in Mando. You're
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, I wonder how she kind of fits
super
into
quirky.
Felt
quirky in this.
Yeah.
This I didn't even bat an eye when she's
They just
talking about how
doubled
she
down.
dated a Jawa and all this stuff.
No,
I'm
it's
like,
funny.
of course she did. She's
Right.
just, like it's
kinda-
funny and it
kinda-
also
Kind of
gets
fuzzy.
it. Yeah, it also
Furry.
gets it. Yeah, she has this little thing
so,
with furry.
you know.
It's just
I'm working on myself right now.
I'm working on myself.
I'm working on myself.
She just totally feels like the
So
mechanic that
great.
would be on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't.
Never got off world. She
She
explains
doesn't
it.
feel like she'd be in Naboo or some
Yeah.
big royal
So-
city. Her whole vibe is, I'm just scraping by. I've never
Right.
even been off world. Her hair is always frizzy and a
Yeah.
mess. She's
You guys-
always dirty.
Everybody knows.
Oh man.
So Amy Sedaris, part she played in Elf,
Elf.
was
Favreau. And she's a secretary.
Secretary
to James Caan.
to James Caan, and okay.
Yeah. It's just.
I didn't know that the first time I saw
Yeah.
it. Then I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It's
So I
just so
paused
great
it.
that-
Kids, that's Pelly. What? No way.
No.
How
like,
about
That's what they were.
And then
so
it went,
the how about the fact that we're talking about some of the themes of the show too that are consistent? While the armor, I suggested
I
earlier in
just
the
don't
podcast
trust
that I think the armor is definitely has her own motives and is doing stuff that maybe is good for their little clan, but she doesn't have, I believe, all the time Din's Mando's best interest at heart. She's suppressing his growth and go back to the way
Is
things
it-
were and
Is
stuff.
it intentional or is it?
Is it that
is
she
it a
just believes the
complete
cause?
allegiance?
She's
Wait
just
a
all in the
second.
Is
cause.
she David Koresh? or
You made
she
me
Yeah.
think of something.
Exactly. Does she believes the
Is-
thing?
Right.
Is there a chance that she is? I mean, I think 100% she's twisting the story based off what she said about Bo-Katan, Bo-Katan. But is it possible that she may have also actually been part of the responsibility of Mandalore's purge?
Mm.
And the reason I say that is because her entire creed is built off secrecy and hiding.
Right.
Is it possible that she's really hiding from
We
other
know there's
Mandalorians?
Mandalorian Civil War.
She's
all this
hiding
stuff.
from other
Right.
Mandalorians, and that's why She doesn't want people to know their numbers. Stay underground. Can't be found
Don't
unless you
know.
kind of know where to look.
I would say whatever her recruiting techniques are, she might want to step up her game.
yeah, well, yeah.
They got 3 left, and she cuts one of them off.
yeah.
What
And-
did, what did
and
Creed
that-
Bratton say?
And the other two.
I've been involved in several cults.
Yes.
You have more fun as a follower, you make more money as a leader. So we don't know which one she is.
Creed.
Also, how about you talking about their tactics for someone who has got 3 people? One of which has been Mando, who's been gone for a while. Hey, welcome back. We went from 2 to 3.
Let's fight to the
Oh
death.
wait, you want to fight to the death over this weapon?
Do you accept these terms?
Go for it.
Go for it.
You don't seem like a good. This is
Yeah.
again where they're
Are
stuck
you
in
sure?
their ways.
There's only
Are
3
you
of us
sure?
left.
Is this the best way to protect?
This is the way.
This is the way.
Here's another
Okay,
thing.
because
I thought,
you said that phrase
That's
that apparently
it.
means something.
That's like saying nobody.
don't have a
Nobody
choice.
calls me chicken. That's
Nobody
exactly
calls
what
me
it is.
Exactly.
Nobody calls me chicken.
It
Nobody's
doesn't-
nobody.
What did you call me?
What did
Griff?
you call me?
Griff?
It's so good.
I do think.
Your shoes unfelt.
But I contend
I
that
said no. What are you deaf?
Pelly. What I was getting at is
Deaf and
Pelly
stupid.
is helped him change before and is helping him change again.
Yeah.
He's like, this isn't a razor
She's
crest. She's like,
moving him.
live a little. Go out on a joyride. Take it for a spin. She's like,
Yeah.
just try it.
Showing
then
him run the
He
diagnostics.
does this whole thing, and she's like, come on, see what it's got. And he's even talking about it. She's like,
Yeah.
come on. And he really kicks it in and
See what this can
gets
do,
away from
yeah.
Carson Teva by hitting the Nas. He's doing a little
Right.
Fast and Furious, basically, gets
Yeah.
out of there.
Tom Cruise action.
Yeah, exactly. Top
Yeah.
Gun. He's
Top
getting it. Totally is.
Right.
One of the things that, and then he lands one of the references, and she says, "How was it?" And he says, "Wizard,"
Wizard.
which is Kitster in Phantom Menace. Yeah, he's like, what was his? He says, "This is totally." Oh, this is so wizard, Annie.
So wizard,
this
Annie.
is so, as he's running over. This is so wizard, Annie. Which is actually the same actor who plays.
oh yeah,
Uh,
I know.
Bodhi Rook.
yeah, yeah.
in the Imperial pilot in Rogue One.
Yeah.
But I love that Mando's even like, this is Mando letting his hair down a little
Yeah.
bit and letting loose. That's him
Right.
saying,
Let this
I just had fun. He could
Yeah.
never say, I just had fun.
No,
But he's,
right.
how was
Wizard.
it? Wizard.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're taking something that used to
He's
get made
also
fun of in
got, he's
Phantom Menace.
also
It's
got
great.
a ship that can go to hyperspace by itself.
Yes, and
He
they
can
make
go-
a
he can
point
go
that he doesn't
anywhere
need
he
the
wants
dock
to.
rings,
Doesn't
which
go
is
anywhere he
which
wants
is
to.
that's a prequel reference because remember those
Exactly.
always had needed the dock rings and then they would
Absolutely.
go.
Right.
He's like, "It doesn't
Joe,
need the dock
Joe,
rings."
So cool.
J-Man said, "How about the Naboo?"
You mean Joe Catan?
Joe Catan,
Joe
Catan.
Catan.
Joda, Lanjo Calrissian.
Lanjo.
Jojo
How about
Banks?
the starfighter scene with the 481 shot-for-shot reference to Phantom Menace?
Shot
Yeah.
for shot. Love
It
it.
was great.
It's in. He even spins.
Oh my
He
gosh.
does the spin.
He
You're
does
like,
the-
they
he's-
totally are
He's
just
try
flying
spinning.
back
That's
into the
all
planet
trick.
and he's doing the spin. I'm like, that's a cool trick.
Mando would have to say,
What if
I'll try
Mando said
spinning. That is a cool trick.
There's a cool trick.
That is the way. That
is
is
a cool
trick.
This is the way to dizzy. It just get
Yeah.
barfs.
You went back to the armor and that reminded me of another thing too, how she's just super suspicious.
I'm just wondering her motives.
Right after she tells Mando that the spear, the Beskar, is not used for weapons, it should be used for armor, and he says, "Well, make it
Yes.
armor then." She goes then and starts training with the Darksaber, and she's using Mandalorian Beskar weapons. Her weapons are Beskar because she's blocking the saber with her, with her weapons. What's up with that? She
Sounds
can
like a
have
little,
Beskar weapons.
Hypocritical.
Now, part of me was like,
Um,
maybe this is what she also uses to like forge and stuff because it's
I
kind of hammer
think-
like that. But
yeah.
she obviously uses them to fight because we
Here's the thing,
saw her
right?
do it in the season 1
Right.
of Mando.
Here's the thing. Nuclear weapons.
Where's this headed? No. Just kidding.
World War III.
Are we talking about
I don't
talking
want
about-
anybody else to have them
talking about
The
Mandalorian?
Night of a Thousand Tears.
except us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you both have them, you both might need them. If only one has them,
Yeah.
nobody needs them.
Nobody needs them.
Now, in a perfect world,
Yeah.
Right.
if that's the thinking,
If that's
she doesn't want anybody else to have them. That doesn't
Right.
really fit. If I have them, I can control it and keep it within the deal.
yeah.
I actually, as you were talking, I think I've changed my mind.
yes.
I think she is just a complete ideologue, just a demagogue. Like This is the way.
She buys.
This is the way.
She legitimately thinks that's the.
It's
that's
100%.
the best.
That's the
This
best
is
thing to
the
do.
way. And it's not that she's interested in, because she's not interested in growing the clan. If you're not one of us, you're out.
Yeah.
It's black or white.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You took your helmet off. I don't care if you're the last one. That's it.
Could be the most noble cause in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Doesn't
she didn't
matter.
even ask why. She's just like, you're no longer Mandalorian.
Doesn't matter. This is the rule. You're out. I think
Yeah.
she's just a die-hard
Yeah.
demagogue. And when it comes to those kinds of things, if that weapon could get out and hurt Mandalorians, then it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I will forge it into something else.
For
I will
Grogu.
use them myself,
Yeah.
but it's going to stay here.
Yeah.
I really think
I know
that's-
better. You may not know better.
You haven't earned the
Yeah.
right
I
to
can do it.
that.
I can
That's right.
control. Yeah.
At least that's what I think it is.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too with him not being Mandalorian, having to go on this mission to. This is the only way for you to regain that status of being Mandalorian
Right.
is going to the waters beneath the caves of Mandalore, and it makes me think because you mentioned this earlier. You said he's kind of got some freedom now.
Mhm.
Is Mando now going down a path of having two options? One, he's free, so he can go visit Grogu. He can go help Boba, and he can take his helmet off because he's like, I've already done it. I'm not longer a Mandalorian. The way to redeem it now is to go do that. But if I haven't done it yet, none of the way really matters because I'm not part of it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So is it giving him the freedom to kind of test the waters of what it's like to not be part of this cult-like thing, this cult-like creed of Mandalorians, to now kind of be free to not really care as much about following the way, to where he gets to the point where he starts asking more questions like Bo-Katan and what they do? Or does it make him lead to, because when the armor mentioned him going to the waters, it made me think that's where he's going to find more information
Mm-hmm.
and truth about the people he's actually following.
Yeah.
Does he get there and actually find out more history about what happened during the Purge?
But would she send him somewhere
be.
that's going to give information that
But-
would hurt her?
I thought that too, but they also basically made it sound like, well, it's destroyed. Like, that's the only way to do it, but it's destroyed.
Can't do it.
So,
By the way,
I
that
felt-
scene where they actually showed
oh my gosh.
It's
the Night of a
unbelievable.
Thousand Tears, the
And
Great Purge.
K2SO, all
Unbelievable.
the,
I heard, and again, I'm not a huge. I've seen the first Terminator movie a long time ago, but everyone I saw on the internet kept saying this was like Terminator 2 of like this big, all the machines,
Sure.
all those K2SO, all those
It looked like it.
K2
Yeah.
droids,
K2
and then
droids,
even
yeah.
you had the
Darth Maul.
you had the probe droids,
probe droids, yeah.
and
Yeah.
then just the TIE bombers. Like we've seen
Oh my
TIE bombers
gosh.
before, but this was just like
Mhm.
literally wipe them out, all of them. Like don't leave
All of
anything.
them.
Execute.
Where were you going with Uncle? I know you had something before
Can't
I.
remember.
I can do
The
that.
Order 66th, my idea.
I did.
No, we were
Execute
talking about. What were you
Uncle's
talking about?
Idea.
We were talking
Do you-
about.
I was just saying the going to the waters.
I
Do we
got
think
the
that's-
impression that he had foregone. That was not an option. I felt like when he left,
He wasn't planning on
he
it.
didn't say, "This is the way."
Mm.
He just
You
it
think
looked
may-
defeated.
You don't think he has
Might be
plans to
done.
go
No.
there?
No,
Interesting.
because he was really quick to go.
And he didn't say I need to go there. He said I got to go see Grogu and then I can help you out. He's
That's
not like
right.
in
Yeah,
a
he
hurry
didn't
to go
say
do
I've
it.
got to go do this.
No, I
because
have
then-
something
Right.
I must do for
That's
my
true.
order. It wasn't even like a discussion.
It was just.
It wasn't even a hesitation. Like
It was
I
kind
so,
of
like
Eventually-
Boba Fett would be like third. Like this would be first, Grogu, and then but Boba it was all of a sudden.
yeah.
So do we think eventually though he's got to do something with the dark saber regarding his now the prophecy? They get into a bunch of stuff about the prophecy.
You want me to
about
ruin the whole show for you?
do it,
Do you want,
Ruin
me
it.
to, you want me to ruin the entire Mandalorian show?
Ruin it.
ruin it,
Ruin
ruin
I
it,
don't think I want to.
ruin.
I have no idea what's going to happen except this. In one sense, I have no idea how the show is going to turn out, and in another sense,
Mace Windu's
I know
back.
exactly what's going to happen.
That was a Michael Scott
It
setup.
was a
Yeah,
Michael Scott,
that's
except it
perfect.
was backwards. Mando is going to become the ruler of Mandalore.
Hmm.
Does he have to fight with or against a Bo-Katan to get it done?
I think with.
Mm.
I think they.
I think- I
they come
think-
together,
I think they come together.
and he is the ruler of Mandalore.
I could could see it.
I don't know.
I don't know. I
What
could
do I
see it
know?
though.
What do I know?
You know a lot. You just went
Is-
to Galaxy's Edge. Bright Suns.
That's true. I've seen the
Is
inside of a
this
Sarlacc and survived.
setting up? Is this setting up the possibility for Grogu to become the next and second ever Jedi Mandalorian? They tease the history.
because he's a foundling.
They tease the history of
Tar
Vizsla.
Vizsla.
Tar
was
Vizsla
both-
being the only one, and
Ah.
he forged the saber. Is this a tease now for Grogu? Because he's going to see Grogu.
Can't go there.
But they're getting him Beskar
can't
armor.
go
They're getting
to.
him Beskar.
Wait. Grogu's the
No.
Grogu's the ruler of Mandalore.
not as a
With the dark saber.
not as a baby.
The
as
Mando's dead corpse is laying.
It's just
Grogu's like, take that away.
he's just Grogu's. You just see a wasteland of everyone dead, and Grogu's just got piles of cookies.
Grogu's
He's just
first
eating.
words. Puto.
He's bloated
You
like
know that-
Java. With cookies all over in the dark saber.
I just
rain.
mean long term. Is this
What a horror show!
that would
He said
be-
the dark saber's a fat Grogu holding up the dark saber
It's
with
the
all the
day of
cookies.
12,000 tears.
12,000 tears.
Oh my
In
goodness!
Grogu's little voice. This is the
Oh
way.
man.
He learns 3 words. This is the way.
Is it possible that that's something that would be like a long-term scenario, and that's why we don't see him involved with anything that we see in the sequel trilogy?
Yeah.
Is because he makes Luke gives Grogu the option, make your decision. Do you want to continue this, or do you want to take what you've learned and go be Mandalorian and be able to use your
Yeah,
skills that way?
Because Grogu's going to have his own desires.
Right.
Once the training is complete, he'll
Yeah.
go, what's he going to do?
Yeah. They're clearly showing that Mando hasn't forgotten about him.
No way.
On the bus, the transport, he's looking at the stuff that was made. It's in the shape of Grogu. He even looks at the little Greedo, what it's
The
their
Rhodian?
species, the
Rhodian?
Rhodian.
Right.
You think he's
And
thinking
he's
of?
thinking of, like, you can tell he's
looking
kind
at
of
a child
thinking
and-
of a green
That's right.
alien child.
all look
and he's
alike.
just like, they all look alike.
That's a classic real world scene of every kid on every bus ever. There's
That's
always a guy who doesn't want to be
absolutely.
bothered, and then there's the kid. Hey, mister.
Over-
And he
over
looks
the-
over and he's just bothering him,
over
and
the
he's just kinda
seat.
Hey,
looking
what
at
you
him.
doing, helmet man?
Yeah.
And
Well,
that,
wasn't
that
that-
kid still works at Galactic Star Cruiser.
Oh, boy. Hey, Amaro. Take me and let me see some stuff. Okay, Jimmy. His name's got to be Jimmy. That
It's
kid's
Jimmy.
name is always
It's
Jimmy.
always Jimmy. You got it, Jimmy. Okay, sport. Yeah.
Okay, sport.
Oh
Listen
my
up, bud.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I don't know. It's just he's obviously longing to get that connection back with.
I
with
think
Grogu.
so.
Yeah. There's another interesting reference, but also was kind of wondering, like, are they actually hinting at something here with the armor mentioning the mythosaur,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which was cool. This was
Right.
both almost like a little meta of kind of the exact words of the songs of eons past foretold of the mythosaur rising up to herald a new age of Mandalore. Sadly, it only exists in legends. And I was like,
Yeah.
because it's
Ooh.
not canon.
Yeah,
It only exists
exactly.
in legends
That was my
because-
first thought.
Because George
too.
Lucas said that is not canon. That is
That was
Right.
my first.
And what was
thought,
Boba
too.
Fett riding in the holiday
Mythosaur.
special?
the great
Great
mythosaur.
mythosaur.
Your ancestors rode the great
Great
mythosaur.
Do we see
Mythosaur.
Mando riding a mythosaur with Boba riding the Rancor,
Rancor?
next
Wow,
to each other?
That'd be awesome. And Grogu floating in the egg.
Yeah, it's just in the little.
Grogu
That-
riding.
by the
on-
way, great way of transportation. We've seen that thing move pretty quickly too. That,
Man.
his little
I
floating
want to
pod.
see.
his-
I want
I
to see
know.
Grogu go. That's what I want to see.
You see him go like this and go, and it says subtitles. It says like a bantha.
Like a bantha.
We rode Hagrid's motorbike ride at Universal,
Yeah.
and we're getting ready to go the first time, right? And it's, if you've ever seen the ride, one part of the bike is like a motorcycle, and the other part is like a sidecar.
Sidecar, yeah.
And Micah, my son, was in front of me, and we're getting ready to go, and it's loud, and I yell, "Hey, Micah!" And he turns around and goes, "Like a bantha!" And he lost it. It was so funny. Then we're off.
Like a
Amazing.
bantha.
So even Star Wars sneaks its way into.
It
Universal.
always influences
It's always in there.
Yeah.
This is the,
the
way.
chosen one.
The chosen one,
I
Yeah.
mean, come on. J.K. Rowling had to be aware of it.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Just saying. Small little reference we haven't talked about yet is So we mentioned Carson Teva. Love Carson Teva. Lieutenant Reed was the other
The
pilot
young,
there.
the,
Yeah,
no
the young
longer-
the new
pilot,
recruit.
who every single time one of these scenes pop up now, I look and I'm like, which director
I
is this?
know,
Because they
I
always
know.
throw in like, is
Yeah,
it going to be?
Filoni was
Filoni,
demoted,
is it?
so
and-
he's no
and,
longer with Carson.
I'm like,
Right.
what's this cameo? And the guy looked familiar at first, and then when they showed the credits, it's Max Lloyd Jones, who is the stand-in for Deepface Luke Skywalker.
No way.
He's
Really?
the actor who played him, and they gave him this
Oh
little
my
part, and it
gosh.
even says Max Lloyd Jones, and
Wow.
I Googled to make sure that was him, and it was.
That's
He's got a
awesome.
little scruff now,
Yeah.
to make him look a little different, but I was like, great, this guy was in Star Wars, but everyone knows that as Mark Hamill, but
Right.
now they got him as an actual different character
Yeah.
instead of Fluke Skywalker.
Fluke Skywalker.
Fluke. Or
Luke.
or Legends Luke. Yeah, you got the
Luke.
the
Yeah.
W. But yeah,
Yeah.
just a little. This episode was full of so many great little references. This was
Yeah.
one of the episodes more than any that I'm immediately going back and like, all right, how many
gotta
things
go
did I
watch.
miss?
I
How many
missed a
things
bunch.
did I
Cal
miss?
Kestis had to be in there somewhere. We just missed him.
The ramp. So on the second watch, when they do Beggar's Canyon, he
Yeah.
comes around. They show the broken wreckage of the ramp that Annie went up. Remember when he
yeah.
bust through like
The
the
wood.
wood
No
up there to go off the
way.
side ramp
Yeah.
to jump in front against
No
the Boba.
way.
And I saw it, and they show it very clearly too. It's not like way in the background. It's
Wow.
right off to the right front side of the
No
screen.
one fixed it up.
And it's the ramp
is
because at first I saw the
awesome.
ramp. I was like, oh, that looks like. And then at the bottom is the broken wood pieces
Yeah.
that were laying right there. That was broken
Wow.
from because it was blocked off
I'm
before.
gonna watch it again. There's tons in
Just
there.
a
I'm
bunch.
sure.
So many. I love that the BD droid was in it.
Yeah,
I
that
just
was
thought it was a
awesome.
great touch.
That's a whole nother thing. How did that?
They
how did that
did
end up
Fallen
there?
Order. They did Fallen Order. They did with the father
They
years.
finally
did
got to a ton of
Last
prequel
Jedi.
stuff.
This one's great because just even over the years, I was young
Yeah.
enough, even though I saw the original trilogy first and fell in love with those first. I was still young enough that when I saw Phantom Menace, I was at such a young age, I didn't have a ton of problems with some of the things that you're a little bit older
Yeah.
generation.
I just
uncle
knew I
immediately
loved
saw
pod
this is way
racing.
different.
I just knew I loved pod racing. I was
But
like, this is
especially as the years have
fantastic.
gone on, as the years have
Awesome
gone
scene.
on, I think even more and more, of any of the prequels, not saying it's my favorite of all the prequels, but of any of the prequels, it's probably the one that keeps going up my list
Which
a little
one,
bit
Phantom
more.
Menace?
Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
That initially it was kind of like, all right, is Phantom
Yeah.
Menace your least favorite Star Wars of all time, or is it Attack of the Clones? To me now, even though I think there's a lot of good stuff in Attack of the Clones, especially that ties to Book of Boba Fett, Phantom Menace to me is way ahead of Attack of the Clones as far as there's a nostalgia to it also of this was when Star Wars was back. Like we remember
Right.
Star Wars when it first started, but
Right.
then Star Wars came back, and this was the Pepsi cans and all the soda cans that we collected, and this
all
was
of my Star
all
Wars
the new
figures
stuff.
Yeah.
value went to the toilet.
I mentioned
Yeah,
that with
right.
Why we
Nick. I
save
mentioned that
these,
with
man?
Nick the other day. I was like, remember how many times Nick
I'd
was
catch him
not
like,
supposed
"Nick,
to,
what
and
are you
Nick's
doing?"
in there like it looked like Grogu with the cookies, but it was Nick, and he just had Star Wars figures hanging out of his mouth. What are you
Man.
doing, dude?
Yeah.
These are priceless.
Not anymore. You can have them.
And then they decided Star Wars will never.
He's
die.
still chewing on them today.
Yeah, I could send them over there.
That's great.
It didn't
That's
matter.
great.
But as a fan of the Phantom Menace, this chapter had so many references to the prequels.
We talked.
Naboo, just seeing anything tied to Naboo
Yeah.
was
I
just
know.
great.
We've talked about this that we just overlook. I could call it what's that flashing syndrome? Like we
Yeah.
overlook
Yeah.
all of those moments, or I do,
Yeah.
and I harp on Misak. We like that's like way worse. And that's not worse.
yeah, yeah,
Better
right.
in a lot of ways.
There's
Yeah.
there's all
Smack.
again. It's the,
Oh, the uniform. Like there's so many
Yeah.
things.
there's so many things that would if they'd come out now or reverse order, you'd be like, well, I could
Right.
if
You
if
wanna
they announced
point to
that
all the
Ryan Johnson
stuff.
directed A New Hope
Yeah.
and
Right.
you've got Luke the whole time. Ow! What's that flashing?
Right.
I care. You know, like,
Right.
people would be like, "What's this acting
What is
choice
he
and all this
doing?
stuff?" Even though some of
What
some of
is
it's
he doing?
classic,
Mhm.
but you're like, you'd be like, "Who directed that?"
Right.
you're like, George, you
Man.
doing all this stuff, and like, faster, more intense.
Faster,
That's-
more intense.
and
Right.
but it's funny how time.
We overlook things that
yeah,
ain't that kind of movie. We overlook stuff that's
Yeah.
not. For
and then
whatever
stuff that
reason.
now when it's funny
We harp
how
on things that just,
the nostalgia already when Mando came on, we're like Mando.
right.
I
This is a
know.
new character 2 years ago.
Exactly.
And
And now
Pelly.
it's
Pelly walks
Mando's
through the
beloved.
streets a couple episodes ago
That's
of
right.
Boba, and I'm like, Pelly, look at the droids.
So
the droids.
here's the lesson. I think if we can give one valuable lesson, is that the things that you hate today may be the things you love in 20 years.
Yeah.
So just love them now.
Just love them now.
That's
Yeah.
our little. Just love them now. There's no reason to hate it. You're gonna
Just
be
love 'em
dying.
now.
You're gonna be.
Just love 'em
That's
now.
exactly right. You're
This is
gonna
the
be
way.
dying to see the Last Jedi
Yeah.
in 15 years, and so
20 years from
Just
now,
love
we
it now.
see the Mos Espa Vespa crew.
yeah,
And we see it in the
We're gonna
back. We
see
see
a
it
bunch of
parked in the
mods.
background.
right.
Bunch of
right, right.
mods.
We see it back in the background, and we see someone. We see a Pee Wee Herman stumble out of a bar and accidentally knock into the Vespas, and they all
Oh,
tip
man.
over.
Be like, oh,
and
I
all of a
love
sudden, you're like,
those.
oh, and then now it's a Pee Wee crossover.
I'm
trying to use the Vespas.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I don't know.
man.
Off the rails.
Off the rails. I thought it was cool too that not only did they have the Fallen Order tie with BD, yesterday I think was when they officially announced Fallen Order 2.
They
It
did.
was in
Oh,
production.
wow.
Along with a couple other games.
They'll
Yes.
announce, they announced a handful of games, but officially, I mean, there had been rumors that it was coming, but I think that was
Is it
the
by
official
chance that they
announcement
announced it the
yesterday,
day
and then,
before, something that ties into Fallen Order?
It's just interesting. I don't know.
Do they
Maybe.
know
They
that
knew it
stuff?
coming.
We have
don't
to,
know.
I think, before we wrap up, we got to make some speculation as far as the way it ends.
Yeah,
Do
what's the
you
next
think-
step?
So I've been racking my brain on this because there's only 2 chapters left of this whole Book of Boba Fett. And
Yep.
now, what this episode has shown us is that doesn't mean it's the end of Boba's storyline. Like, it doesn't have to be at all. It can
No.
tie into the bigger
This is all
story.
merging into
They haven't said anything
one
about
show.
another season.
But they
have
haven't announced anything about another season.
No.
And who knows? At the end of this thing, there could be a post-credit scene that's like, Boba will return in Mandalorian Season 3. Or Boba will return in
Yeah, who knows?
Book of Boba Fett. The
Or
book series of Boba Fett.
what's the Jedi
Um,
one that's not announced but got leaked?
Well, we don't know that's a live action thing, but
That's
you mean
true.
the Tales of the Jedi?
Tales of the Jedi.
Mm.
Which I saw people were playing. This is a side note, but you're talking about Tales of the Jedi. There was a
Are
an
you
interview,
talking about with Mark Hamill?
the Mark Hamill
Yeah, I saw
interview
that.
that was going
was-
around from.
The behind the scenes for his return to Mando, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah,
it was the interview for behind the scenes for his return to Mando, and he
Yeah.
was talking about how excited he was, and he said, "Now with George, I was always talking to him about like." He said it always just kind of felt kind of fast that it was like, great, we have him as he's like when Return of the Jedi ended,
Yeah.
he was like this whole thing was about Luke becoming a Jedi, and he becomes a Jedi, and then we never see anything happen.
Yeah.
And that he was like, I always wondered like if we'd see like any of the tales of the Jedi of like him being, and that was the exact phrase he used. And
Oh,
now this became a
man.
thing called Tales of the Jedi. So now people
Yeah.
are speculating.
Wait
Is this
a
something that
second.
Disney released recently that showed this Mark Hamill clip for any
Yeah.
particular reason, or is this just they
Coincidence.
use that as an idea and they're like, yeah, let's just
Yeah,
show
that
this
would be
could
a good
bounce
show.
around to different
Right.
Yeah.
things, and maybe there's a little of could also just be an animated show, which would also be
Caucasus?
cool. Of
Absolutely.
different stuff that they could do. With the
Yeah.
animated show, there's always way more possibilities just because you're like, we need to do something with this character who died a long time ago. We'll get a voice actor and we
Mhm.
can do stuff with
Yeah.
it.
Right. Right.
Um,
can do
versus
it.
the actual, deep fake, all of the stuff they have to do
It's a lot of work.
technology-wise is a lot of
Yeah.
work. But right on that topic, do we think, and this doesn't have to
Is
be an
this a bet?
official, do we want to do official Boba Bet
Ooh,
on
we
this?
should do some
Ooh.
bets.
Let's do some bets. Next chapter. So this is what I was getting at to set this up. There's only 2 left. Do they spend time going and following him again in a second episode? Is this going to follow Mando going to go actually see Grogu? Because that sounds like his immediate step is actually before he helps Boba, he's going to
He
see
said, I have to
Grogu.
go see a little
And he's
friend
got his
first.
gift.
Yep.
Are they just going to, that'll be shown either in Mando Season 3, if they ever show that footage, or it's like, hey, he's going, let's focus back on Tatooine, because we still have the Pikes.
Right.
We've got all this stuff, the mayor, all these things that are going
Yeah.
on here. His crew, the
Yeah.
mods, the all the people that are helping him, Chrysanthemum, there's a lot of stuff here.
Did he say I'm gonna go
I said I'll help, but he said
But first,
said tell him I'll do it for free, basically. And then he said, but first I've got to go see a little friend or something like that.
yeah.
Said, but first I got.
So
Okay.
it definitely sounds like he's
Gotta
going
do
there
that
first.
first.
My question is, do they show that in the next chapter of Book of Boba Fett? And like, do we actually get a Grogu sighting or a Luke sighting? If he's going there, you'd likely see Luke also. Or does that feel like that would be even more of spending almost too much time on Mando
Yeah.
and not as much on the story at hand?
Man, I can't figure out
I
how that
think-
would work.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know how
think
that
they're
works.
Staying with Boba.
So does it feel? But then also they teed up,
Then how does he
see a
get
little
back?
friend. So then, like as a fan base, it's like, is that a tease? They're obviously teasing. I'm going to see Grogu.
Yeah.
Are we as fans supposed to be super excited because we think we're going to get to see Grogu, or are we just happy at the mention because we know Mando's going to see Grogu?
I think it's
because obviously it's a
setup.
big.
Yeah.
You would think that at some level they would show that on screen of his first interaction with Grogu. Of
I don't
what
think
happens.
we can have a. I don't think we can have a.
I don't think you have back to
He's
back.
doing really well. I don't think we can have that.
Right? Like, because
Yeah.
it would be emotional,
Their
what
meeting
they
has
set
to
up.
be seen.
Yeah.
But
But
I don't
does it
see
feel
a
like
way
that
for
doesn't happen?
that their meeting can't overshadow everything else in the episode. Like,
Yeah.
And when
it
there's
can't-
only 2 left, does it feel like we're
Get
spending
there
a
and
lot of
back?
time to go do that and not do anything with the Crime Lord stuff?
I predict Boba Fett.
does he
they
know where he
save it
is? By the way,
for- They save it for.
They didn't say where he was, but I
Mando.
assume that he
how does he know where he is?
I don't know if when Luke left, he was.
By the way, I'll be.
By the way, if you ever
in-
need
on
me, here's
Dagobah.
my.
That's what Luke did. We're not meeting up with the others, are too.
Yeah, we're going to the Dagobah.
We're gonna
system.
go see an old
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah. I think they're teeing up that next episode we're back with Boba. Mando's not in this episode. The next
'Kay.
one. He's off doing his thing. And then we see some of that footage with Grogu for Mando season 3. Then the finale happens, and that's when Mando returns to help Boba in their fight against
I'm
the
gonna go a
Pikes.
different direction.
Ooh, this is maybe the way,
This is the way.
We start with Mando.
and it's just a brief.
He's going to see Grogu. Explains what's happening, and Grogu comes back with him, and they both join Boba Fett.
With Luke.
And Luke comes, and Mace
Boba
is there.
and Boba says he's not welcome.
and Mace is there.
Mace is there. Luke's always wanted to be a crime lord.
All the Snoke back to tanks.
I'm
are
not kidding.
around. No.
I think
You think Grogu comes back?
start with Mando. He goes and explains the situation, just like Luke left to go help his friends.
Yeah.
Before his training was complete, Grogu leaves to go help his friends. Boba Fett was responsible for saving him anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fennec Shand was responsible for saving him anyway.
and especially if he's
They
had
all
some
made it
training, he could be
possible.
more handy in a fight now too.
I think that's
Yeah.
what happens.
Oh man, there's so many
Man.
possibilities.
So we're gonna have Black
Oh,
Chrysanthemum in there. We're gonna have Fennec Shand.
Is this the new
We're
Creed?
gonna have
Mando's no longer with the Mandalorians. Is he getting his own Mandalorian creed and this is it?
I don't
Is this
know.
the start
I
of
don't
a
think these
new
are- I don't think Fennec's becoming
That's
a
my-
Mandalorian.
That's my
But-
bet. My bet
Yeah.
is that he goes. We start there, and he's going, and they meet up, and then they. At least
They come back.
it may not
and-
be the first scene.
You think that there's a portion of it they
we
cut
may have
to
a
it
Boba
though?
Fett scene to begin the episode,
Okay.
but we pick up Mando going to Grogu, and there's a scene there similar to Grogu and Ahsoka scene
Mhm.
where they have a discussion and a talk
Sure.
and a meeting, and Grogu and Boba Fett or Mando come back together.
Hmm.
Do we see Luke in this then too? In that scene? Would it be
I think we may have
Wait,
to.
is it possible we see
would it be
Luke
weird
again
if they're
next
like,
episode?
Grogu, where are you? And they're like, oh, Luke's going to the bathroom. I
I'm out.
just don't want to
Yeah.
show him.
I'm
on
not
screen.
saying any. I'm not putting anything out based on technology or for the storyline. If what I think is going to happen, I think he has to be there. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna say yeah.
So
And Mark Hamill's like,
We
just when I think
see-
they're out there, pull me back in.
I
Mark
see.
and he loves it. I just mean it'd be funny that Mark Hamill continuously gets to do a little bit
I
more.
think they
of
shot
Luke,
it
a
at the
little more.
same time. They did it all at the same time. It's just sitting there waiting.
I mean, they
Interesting.
announced that. They announced the
Boba
Book
Fett
of Boba
was
Fett that episode.
I think
that
it was
chapter.
sitting there the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
this might be crazy. That's just my bet.
I mean, it makes
Crazy
sense.
bets are
It makes
welcome
sense.
because part of these bets might be that Boba is literally going to be riding a Rancor. In the
I was
final.
gonna say,
I
I
just think we're
predict-
shot way too low. Way too often, I'm gonna shoot for the star.
I was gonna say, I predict next chapter we see some of that training with the Rancor.
yeah, because he's
Boba and
definitely
the Rancor.
using that.
Because there's 2 chapters left.
Right.
Maybe he doesn't get any training because he says, I've ridden beasts. You know, maybe he's already feels like he's trained enough because
Mhm.
he's ridden beasts 10 times his size. So maybe he doesn't need training.
But do we have to have a cliffhanger here? Does the war with the Pikes, is that heating up at the end of 7?
That's what I'm
Or is
saying.
it
That's
settled?
got to be
We don't resolve that, do we?
in 7. You mean?
I think, here's what I
Feels
think.
like
I
an
think
8
there's,
thing, but
I think there is a fight, but
or
it
8,
ends
or
with,
7. Sorry, 7's the last one.
Yeah.
I was thinking of if you were asking if it was 6. Yeah.
I think 7 ends with there is a fight with the Pikes, but the cliffhanger is that there's more behind the Pikes. There's something bigger out there. There's more behind the Pikes, and that's kind of where it's like, yeah, we had this fight, but there's a lot more to this fight that's to come. That's how I think it's. That's where I think we're going.
They need a Force user. They need a Force user. That would stem the tide of being outnumbered. I think Grogu is the variable. As many times as we've got Mando now, and how many times has Grogu been the one to save Mando? I think he's going to turn the tide of the whole thing with the
Yeah.
Pikes.
It could happen.
So if Grogu's been, how long's it been then that he's been with Luke?
That's a good thought. How long?
Yeah.
How long's he been training so far since the end of Mando
It took Luke.
to now?
It took Luke in episode 4 12 minutes. So that means
So he's already faced the trials.
he's already gone. No,
So
I'm
he's
just
a
kidding.
master
He's
by
already
now.
been.
And
He's on the
Grogu,
council.
Grogu had
The
already
council
been.
consists of Grogu and Luke.
Grogu had already been training. He already had
True.
He had
skills. He
suppressed
already had
powers that
things
just needed to be.
unlocked.
Yeah.
I really think he's going to leave his training early, or he may
Yeah.
be close to being done.
Does he wield a lightsaber?
Oh man!
Mm.
If he's
Or is he
completed his
still
training,
too-
he has
Is
to.
he still too young?
I don't know what the heck's gonna happen in this.
But
I
show.
I
just
don't
keep
think
thinking
he's
of that.
completed it. I think he's just.
I keep
gonna
thinking
leave.
of that art that went around
I
when this
know.
thing came out, and it was a teaser
Grogu
for
with a
Mando
kyber
season.
crystal and
It was
the
Grogu
pieces.
with a yellow lightsaber.
I just don't know.
But he's still an infant, though.
Yeah,
He's
I
still an
know.
infant.
I'm with you though.
And yet he's
This chapter,
60. I don't know.
this
I know. Yeah, right.
this chapter kind of honestly, this feels like the transition from season 1 of Mando to season 2. Of like season 1 was a very slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
We always joke around but it's accurate. The tone poem.
Here's story.
Here's the story.
character
Here's
development.
character development.
Story,
We're putting
character,
these
back and
things
forth.
in one time. It might be a little side mission here when he has to help this village, and these things happen. It's taking a while to get where he's going. Season 2 explodes with Boba Fett, Luke, Bo-Katan, all these possibilities. Where then we were like, well, what in the world's possible in this?
Mhm.
They started doing that with like this started really confined. He's like, here's my purpose. Here's this. Here's backstory. Then you get a little Chris Anton, and we're like, ooh, people from the comics and other things are
Right.
coming in, and okay, where's this gonna get? Then Hutts,
Yeah,
or
Hutts.
Hutts at the same time. Essentially,
Finally,
And
we
we're
got
like,
my Hutts.
we're like, we got Hutts on here. Now what are they gonna do? And then obviously, when all of a sudden you have a whole episode
Yeah.
about Mando and the dark saber and Grogu and mention of Moff Gideon and the armor, Paz Vizsla, Carson Teva, all these things tying into him coming to help. Now you're like, well, now I'm back to the
Anything.
place I love to be, which is I have no clue.
Mhm.
The next chapter could be something we have no
Yeah.
idea. Like we had zero predictions that this chapter would have been like this. We thought that it would hit on Mando a little bit.
Yeah,
that it
we
would
thought
touch
for sure
Mando.
Mando was gonna be.
It'd be brought up. He'd probably make an appearance. We didn't think it would be in some brand new, which by the way, we didn't even really mention as much, but that the space ring
Oh my-
planet
Interstellar?
port that they're staying
Wow.
on
the
was
Interstellar.
just, first of
Anything
all,
like that.
looked incredible. It looked so Star Wars, so cool.
Yeah.
It's
And that's what I was
exactly-
talking
it's totally
about.
realistic.
Totally
yeah, for
realistic.
sure.
Because it would work. That's the idea of 2001 with the space
Yeah.
that turns, the gravity, and
What's interesting is some of the shots
Awesome.
too, when it would just be that in space, felt very. Even though I bet it wasn't, but it just reminded me of like, Death Star trench practical effects where he's looking out of the.
Right.
It felt very Episode 4
Yeah.
of just like just the backdrop of space in little buildings because you don't
Exactly.
see a lot of that
No.
other than the trench run
Right.
of the Death Star. And when they kind of
Yeah.
showed that, I was like, this is just when he's like in the elevator, which
So
is a great scene. He's in
cool.
the elevator with the.
By the way, that whole
with
shot.
that alien, and the alien's just like looking at him,
That was
holding a
great.
bloody head in a bag, and then
I thought he was
Mando
gonna.
looks, he's
I
like,
thought he was going to go see Kira.
Ooh.
I still.
I was like, what happens if he just walks in and it's like Crimson Dawn? As who
Oh
he is?
I
my
know.
God.
I was thinking that with the opulent
I-
like the thing. I
Yeah.
was like,
Nate will tell you because I talked about last episode. I keep holding
so
out
great.
hope.
He thinks it's gonna happen for sure.
I don't know if it would happen this
You
season.
said for sure. No, I'm just kidding.
Or if it would happen overall, or if it happens in general. But I said that I still am holding out, not hope like, oh, I need this to happen, but I still think there's a small, and I'm looking at the poster right there.
I added that.
I still think
last
there's a
week.
small possibility
Nice little solo
that there's a
poster.
Kira appearance in the Mandoverse. Now I'll have to expand it to the Mandoverse.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if the storyline's going to be wrapped up in season 1, season 2. Above the Pikes.
Yeah.
And that there's a bigger.
I just feel like
Because
there's
even though
gotta
the
be more
Pikes are
behind the
dangerous, I just want to know what's the. We've seen the Pikes are dangerous in
I feel like the-
Clone Wars, and that's an actual thing. Where
Right.
the Pikes killed Master Sifo Dyas. They're actually the ones who
Yeah.
are responsible for that. They showed in
Mhm.
Clone Wars.
But there's still
But the
always
fact
a
that
ruler. There's still
Boba-
always somebody at the top.
The fact that the Hutts are like, yeah, we're getting out of here. The Pikes are here, but they actually just say another syndicates
They didn't
claim
go away
land. They didn't say the
Yeah.
Pikes,
Mm-mm.
and then later we see more Pikes coming out.
How
but
How many came out of that ship? How many are we talking in this?
of that
Army?
shot they showed?
How
Oh,
many we
man.
think in there?
I don't know.
The
That's
gang.
what
I don't know.
you got, a Rancor and a Dark Saber and all of that, and
I think.
you've got jetpacks. They defeated
How about when
defeated Crate Dragon.
That's true. How about when Mando swings and misses and then
So you gonna bring
jetpacks
sand people in?
jetpacks up?
So you can have a Tuscan army.
Oh man.
Unfortunately, the ones who were loyal to him.
So what does
Yeah.
Boba Fett have now? He's got a couple kids on Vespas. He's
Kids on
got
Vespas.
he's got
He's-
Fennec Shand. He's got Mando
two
coming.
Gamorreans,
couple
Chrysanthemum,
Gamorreans.
Chrysanthemum.
Black Chrysanthemum,
Right. I think
Rancor, which I think is huge.
it's possible we have one more
Addition.
thing that happens. Some
That's why I
some
feel like there's
group has to join because that's not enough.
I saw a funny.
unless what you think.
I mean,
I
it
saw a
could be
funny
enough.
tweet.
Grogu comes.
Unless Grogu
maybe.
evens the score with the Force,
I saw a funny.
it might be enough. If there's
I
15
saw a
or
funny
30,
tweet
I don't know,
about
20
like
of them.
them having a fun. There was a funny tweet about a potential fake scene, but it was just someone joking around on Twitter of like, it'll be funny in the next episode of Mando where, right before like they're reaching out to Mando, or in next episode Boba, when they're like, all right, Mando, you ready to are you ready to help us? He's like, sorry, actually, I have to speak tomorrow at Cara Dune's funeral. Like, and so it's like, they're just gonna completely kill her off.
Great.
They're like,
This
sorry,
character's
she
just
died.
She
It's
died.
just not gonna be there.
He's got a black armband.
Yeah.
Is that for Cara Dune?
Cara Dune.
He's got her.
Yeah,
her
she
sheriff
won't
badge.
be helping
Her sheriff's
Man.
badge.
because like in a world she's the obvious other person that they would go ask now for help.
Yeah.
Of like she's got a rebellious side to her and all this
For
stuff.
sure.
They're like, oh.
Unless
They'll just
they go
cut and it'll be
get,
like her grave. She's
Yeah.
Oh
dead.
man, that's an Easter egg in the background.
Yeah. Oh,
Vincent,
funny.
what's up, man? Vincent's in. He said, "Sorry, I'm late. Just got done watching the episode. It was awesome. Mando's new starfighter, though. Oh yeah.
So cool.
Do you guys think
Classic
Grogu will
N1.
make an appearance in the next episode? We were just talking about.
You
that.
are late, man.
Did we make a bet?
Just a couple minutes. We just mentioned that.
Yeah.
Did we make our official?
When I say we, I mean me.
Yeah. Uncle
Sure.
made that.
Did we?
Did we do a? You said you think that he will.
Y'all gonna vote no? I know you're gonna vote no. Just get it over with.
I don't.
Just
I-
throw the
In the
dagger
next episode,
in
or in next 2 episodes, like in the season.
next episode.
Wait, the question wasn't even if we'll just see Grogu. Oh yeah, that was the question. Was will we show him go to? That's what we initially
Yeah.
asked, right? Was so yeah. Will we see Grogu?
Should we
and,
vote on Nate's first?
what was Nate's?
What was Nate's? What was Nate's?
What was
that
Nate's?
we would. The first question was, do we see Mando in the next episode? You said no,
Mando or
Oh,
Grogu?
yeah.
Grogu?
and I went.
Mando.
I doubled down and said yes, and Grogu
Yeah.
comes
Oh,
back.
that's what it was.
So, I guess yes.
'Cause
to
we were
mine is
wondering-
no to Nate's and no to Nate's. Is
Yeah.
yes to mine.
And to fill in,
True.
Vincent, we were wondering if with only 2 episodes left of Book of Boba Fett, if they would spend a lot of
Do we
time
jump right
veering
back to
off
Mando
to
to
kind of
keep
go
it
back to
going?
Mando,
Right.
or if it's like we did that,
Right.
now we gotta get back to Boba, and then Mando's gonna come join the storyline that we're following over here.
Let's split it up. Is Mando in the next episode? Is that a fair one?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Ooh, I like it.
All right.
I said no.
You are no
dude.
longer a
I got
Mandalorian.
outvoted.
You may leave. No,
This
just
is the
kidding.
way.
I was thinking, yeah. To be clear, my vote was yes, but that was not 100% that that's because they will follow him going to Grogu.
Okay.
But
Next
that-
question then. How about that? Is
Ah.
Grogu the next question? How about what if this is the next question? Do we see Grogu in the next episode? Is that a fair one?
Ooh. Well, you
Do-
know my answer.
Do we
already.
see Grogu in the next episode? 1, 2, 3. Ooh.
Ooh.
Not that I don't want to. I'm just thinking they're going to spend
But
a
we
lot of time on Boba.
I think
But
so
I don't
too.
know.
I just
It is the Book
But
of
they
Boba
also
Fett.
just teed up. They definitely. It's hard because fans are like, I'm sure tons of people just finished the episode and they're like, Grogu, because they just. Say,
I'm
he's
not
got
saying
this-
it because I
he's-
want it.
He's
either.
got this to give it
right.
to him.
You just think, well, it makes sense.
Even story-wise, they like he's got a thing to give to him. We've just shown him. He said, like, first I gotta go see a friend. You're like, this might be the first thing.
Right.
Do I
Actually,
do I change my bet?
I changed my mind.
I think it's yes. Actually,
I actually completely just changed
I just
my mind.
do too. I don't know why. I
And
just
I'll
said
tell
it.
you
Shock
why.
yourself
I'll
because
tell you why I
it feels
changed
like
my mind.
It has to, right?
I'll tell you why I changed my
It
mind.
does.
Yeah.
It feels like it
Because
would be weird to avoid it now.
knowing that he said I will help, so assuming that he follows through and he does come back.
That would be really.
And
They're
not,
just waiting and they're getting invaded and like, where's Mando? And he's over. Who's a good Grogu?
Oh, he's a good girl. Who wants a cook? Who wants a blue
Oh,
cookie?
Jawas
Who wants to see my face?
Luke's over there just like, just scratching his head.
Just take him.
Please,
Just
take him.
Take
Take
him.
him. Let me be.
Here's why I changed my mind.
moves
Kill
into
you
Yoda's-
myself with the dark saber.
He moves
if I
into
could.
Yoda's old hut in Dagobah.
All right. Here's why I changed my mind. Because I think either way it makes sense story-wise, whether they follow him to go see Grogu, whether I think that's happening. Whether they show that or not, or they wait to show that with Mando, I think either way it makes sense because that's kind of the story. It's just whether I think we'll see that side or do I think we'll just see focus on Boba while he's doing that and then save that shot for Mando. Here's why I changed my mind. Initially, I was thinking
Clarify, change your mind. That Mando is in it.
Mando
and-
is in it and
and-
Grogu's in it.
Ooh, okay.
Here's why. Because initially I was thinking they saved that shot for Mando season 3. They kind of do like this is where Mando season 3 picks up is showing that, which is still a possibility. The reason I changed my mind is because I think knowing he's going to come back, I think he will come back with Grogu.
Wow.
So-
That's big. Okay.
So, if Grogu comes back with him, it feels weird to have not seen that
You
reaction
gotta see
already.
it start.
That's
right?
why. If he comes back without Grogu, I can see them not showing it.
Now the question is, why do they introduce going to Grogu if he's not going to bring him back?
Yeah, unless they're just setting it
Feels
up
like a side.
Yeah.
You mean unless they're
thing.
setting it up for Mando?
for Mando. Unless they're setting it up for Mando.
That was my thinking.
yeah.
He comes back without Grogu. He takes his helmet off and his mascara is running, and he's just been crying like crazy.
And then he remembers, now I got to redeem myself twice for taking it.
I took the helmet off, and I've embarrassed myself in front of Boba, and Boba's like, "You wear mascara too?"
No, I think so. To clarify,
Off the rails.
I have a
this show.
back to tank.
to clarify, my predictions are if Mando comes back without Grogu, it makes sense to not show him go off and see him. If Mando is to come back with Grogu to help Boba, I think it makes sense to show that happening in this.
Revote.
Which one is this?
Mando and Grogu in the next episode. 1, 2, 3.
Come in.
This is the way.
Wait, does that
This
mean?
is the
Wait,
way.
does that also mean Luke
Wait, not coming back.
for good? No, just he comes back.
Not
No,
Luke coming back. You
Just
mean
seeing
Luke
it.
Back and
appearance?
just
wipes out
Luke
the entire
appearance.
Pikes?
Luke
Okay.
appearance. If we think that we're gonna see
my-
Mando
my
and
bet
Grogu
against
next
Luke-
episode, how do we not?
My
see
bet
Luke?
against Luke helping them at all is that Luke doesn't have any stake in a crime lord business. He
No,
didn't
Luke
even.
won't
He didn't
help.
even want to. He didn't even want to help in there when all of them were about to be destroyed by the
No.
remnants of the Empire and Moff Gideon. He just basically was like, "Give me the child.
Yeah.
May the Force." be
No,
with
I
you," and he
think
just
I
left.
think
That's right. I
Luke
have
is
no
worried,
interest in
helping
worried
helping.
just
about other
messed up.
stuff. I think Luke is more at the state of letting Grogu just make that decision. Like if they have the conversation, I think it comes to Luke saying, "If you want to go,
You mean-
if you feel called to go help, go help.
Yep.
We can finish our training later on or whatever." But I think it's
way you
Luke
said
telling
that.
him, "This
Yeah,
is your
you've got a
decision.
choice.
Your choice. If you feel called to go help, then go help." That's where I think that's where whether that happens right now or that happens in Mando, that's where I think we see Grogu leaving Luke to get back with Mando for the sake of the Mandalorian like storyline.
Mhm.
Is that decision of Luke telling him you have a choice. It's up to you. Not going
I'm
off
just-
the old Jedi ways of no attachment, none of this, because Luke learned the attachment of his father,
Right.
Vader, is what saved
Is
him.
what saved him. Not the
So,
opposite.
exactly.
So Luke understands leaving to go do
To help your friends.
something noble. Well, if we're going back to Grogu in the training and we're going back to Luke, doesn't that open up all kinds of other possibilities of other characters? How old is Ben Solo at this point?
This is one of
this
the
is where it
reasons
gets
why it feels
interesting.
like
Is he
would this
born
be
yet?
a Boba Fett
I mean, it can't be.
show, or is this for something else?
See, again, we can't even say that because of chapter 5.
True.
Is that a Boba
Yeah,
Fett?
no, exactly.
Do you
I
know what
think
I
the
mean?
fact that
Well, I
this
think
will
we're-
come back to
Okay, here's the rails,
the
and here's us.
Here's
fact
us.
that I'm pretty
Awesome.
sure Boba will be riding a Rancor gives Boba the leg up on nobody's going to overshadow him, because
Right.
him going into battle leading
Maleta.
these people
Right.
on a Rancor, I think will remind everybody this is Boba Fett's show.
Yeah. And then all
No
of a
matter
sudden,
what happens, I
he
think
rides in on a
people are gonna
Rancor.
be reminded.
he rides in on a Rancor, and all of a sudden you hear, "Woo," and all of a sudden Mando's on a Mythosaur, and they're just running
coming out
in.
of the water like a bantha.
and the pikes are just like this.
And the
And
floating
just shooting him, and
egg.
just shooting him down.
I just want to
floating
see
eggs.
this. I just want to see the Naboo N1 starfighter right next to Fire Spray, aka Slave One,
Man,
flying in.
I don't even know what to say. I think it's,
I love Star Wars.
I love it.
I think this show is gonna end. I think they've been.
You think the show's gonna end?
I think I was gonna say
I
in an
think the
amazing
show's
way.
gonna end.
In an amazing way, because they've done a good job of taking their time developing the characters, developing where the story is
Mhm.
going. That I think it's going to end in the next 2 episodes with, I don't know, with like big moments. Like I said, Boba riding a Rancor and potential Mando Grogu joining.
Man, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
I also, this is a small side tangent, but I also think that when Boba
Ahsoka
Fett
comes back.
when Boba Fett ends, either in the post credit, like they did a thing for the Book of Boba, or like they did the credit for Book of Boba to set up the next thing, or later that week or the next week, I do think soon after Book of Boba we're going to finally get the full trailer for Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I
Would be my guess. Because
And-
they have it, and there were rumors about it coming out a while back, but I do believe that they just didn't want to step on. They're like, we
No.
already got Boba. We don't want to distract people.
Let's
We
let it
want
happen.
everyone
Yeah.
going to this, and when it's done, then it's the same reason why. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but Marvel's very specific about
Yeah.
releasing different trailers and stuff like that
Yeah.
too.
I can tell you how it's going to play out.
Well, tell us what's gonna happen.
I'll tell you, I'm going to ruin this one too.
Ruin it.
Ruin it. No, doesn't make sense.
New
that,
shirt. Ruin it.
That Mando. So Mando
For the
season
cast.
2, was it season 2? Ended with this trailer for the Boba Fett where he
Yeah.
kills
Mm.
Bib Fortuna. On what planet? Tatooine.
Mhm.
Tatooine.
Where do we find Obi-Wan Kenobi at the end of episode 3? Tatooine. So we just have
What if it?
30 years ago or whatever, how many
Yeah.
years ago. That's all it says. Same
The
spot, same
suns
planet, same
change.
thing. It's the same thing. We just have a little transition, and now we've got
Yeah. Maybe.
however many years ago,
And Boba's
Love
there.
and there's Obi-Wan sitting at the campfire with
A young Boba Fett.
Darth Maul.
No, but wrong.
Darth Maul.
Wrong. Very wrong.
That's how it starts.
Nah, no,
Oh,
no,
that'd be
no.
crazy.
No, I would.
They just
that
roasted
wouldn't work.
marshmallows.
Yeah, they're best pals.
Yeah.
I see G Hawk is in the chat. So this episode
What's
was
up?
by far my favorite. Can't wait to see new Grogu memes if he comes back. Hoping he comes back. And then Vincent's here as well and said, do you guys think Grogu will look the same or look different,
Ooh.
as in look bigger? Will we see growth or will we see...
Just buff Grogu.
He's just...
He's got anchor
His-
arms. SpongeBob anchor arms.
He's got a training montage. It's nothing with the Force. It's all just lifting and benching. Gray hoodie.
I don't
Gray
know.
Grogu, it's the thrill of
The
the
Eye of the Grogu.
I don't.
Eye of the Jedi.
I think he looks the same.
Looks the same.
Yeah.
But
I think he
but
looks the same,
clothed, like
probably.
clothed differently. He's not like,
Well, Mandalorian armor.
man, and he'll have armor.
He's
He's no
teenage.
longer wanted. Is that what?
He's teenage rebellious Grogu. He's got like a soul patch and just a little bit of facial hair.
Yeah, he's
and
got an earring.
spiked hair. He's got gelled up.
The Beskar rings are
Frosted tips.
the Beskar rings. The Beskar rings are earrings.
They go to Grogu's room and he's got posters and he's just jamming on the drums. Luke, get out of my room.
Oh man.
Luke.
And all of a sudden
Grogu
there's
in Jedi
strobe
robes.
lights and stuff coming out of his room and Luke's, hey, what's that flashing? He just shuts the door on him.
Will he have a?
Ooh.
I don't think so.
I don't think so
I
either.
think he'll look the same.
I do too. If
He looks the
over
same.
50 years he
They make
looks
too
that
much
young.
money off of his merchandise to have him grow up.
Mm-hmm.
And how much would he actually change if in 50 years he still looks like a baby?
Here's the thing about the species.
That's true.
At
It takes a
51,
long time.
is that just like his year? Like, is that 51? Now he's, boom, he has a growth spurt.
I'm not a big.
Who knows how that
I'm not
works?
a big retcon kind of person, but if Grogu is suddenly full grown, I would feel that might be. If they wrote into it that
That's like
that
part of the
species in the
species.
51st year.
51st year.
But I know what you mean though. Like how they're
I'm
gonna.
just saying, we
How
don't
is
know.
that guy
I don't think.
gonna
I have a feeling that
wield
for-
anything
yeah.
but
Yeah.
cuteness?
I feel like for the
Yeah.
duration of Grogu,
Yeah.
he will. As long as we have Grogu on
Mhm.
screen, he will always look that way. That's what I predict.
Mm.
I don't think we'll ever see him grow up on
No,
screen.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know
Bet
why.
on
I
Grogu's
just think
age.
it's just like you said. They have too much there with Grogu.
It's a big yeah.
They could still show his training. They've shown that he can use the Force and all that stuff, but I don't necessarily think he's going to be running into battle with like doing Yoda flips
No,
versus Count
no.
Dooku lightsaber stuff.
I think he's doing.
No.
I think he's learned quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think he would be an incredible. Well, what did Mando do when he found out Boba Fett was in trouble? I'm there.
Yep.
I can't imagine Grogu
For free.
hearing about it and saying, "Okay,"
Oh, all three people that
because
saved
now
my
they
life?
can communicate. He can communicate. We know that
Yeah.
he's way more intelligent,
Yeah.
understanding things, able to speak and share
Yeah.
things.
And Fennec helped him too.
He's going to have
dead to
grown
both
by
of them.
this point. There's no way he would let
Also,
Mando leave without.
That just
helping.
reminds me.
No way. I just don't
That's
think
another
it's
reason
possible.
why
This
Luke
is
has to
crazy
be there.
what's coming.
Ahsoka was the translator for Mando
Right.
because the Force connection. They could talk.
That's right.
And Luke
Luke
was
will-
also.
And
Luke
Luke was
was there.
also.
He-
So
he
Luke
wants
is
your
going
permission.
to be
Or
a
somehow,
translator again for that
unless
conversation.
Grogu has learned
Unless he's learned.
English.
to speak
Basic.
basic.
Was it just Yoda who was confused with the order of words, or do you think that it was also Grogu? Is
Luke
it part of the
teaches him-
species?
Luke teaches him
Is it-
to speak Yoda.
If I can fix
Speak
one
backwards.
wrong in the galaxy,
That's it.
It's that. He will speak.
He will speak.
He will speak.
Correctly, he will speak.
Correctly, he will speak. That's great.
That was
Yeah.
a question they asked at Savvy's workshop.
Yeah.
I overheard it from a distance, and they were asking some people, "What is the species of Yoda?" They actually said, "What is Grogu's species?" The correct answer is
We don't know.
Don't know.
no one knows,
No one
right?
knows.
No one knows.
And the guys were like, "I'm not sure." And she's like, "The answer is no one knows." Like, I knew that.
Trick question.
Yeah.
Trick question.
Yeah. No one knows.
Anyway, what did they say?
What is Din Djarin's birthday? No one
Oh.
knows.
No one knows.
No one knows.
There's a lot of trivia like that. If you
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the answer is no one knows, you can say anything
Yeah, that's
as
right.
long as no one knows it.
As long as
True.
no one knows it.
Yeah.
Vincent said, if Grogu does appear in the next episode, do you think he will have or yield a lightsaber?
Wield a lightsaber. That's a thought. We'd mentioned that too. Was that just go right to it?
Let's go right to it.
Will it's like a magic 8-ball.
We'll
Will
ask again
Grogu-
later.
Not likely. Okay.
Not likely.
Will Grogu wield a lightsaber in the next episode? Do you think?
If he appears, yeah.
If he appears. 1, 2, 3. Oh no.
All knows.
See
All
it.
knows.
Maybe we're not. Maybe
I think-
we're not thinking big enough. Could be.
Could be. I think there's more. I think we're more likely to see Grogu at some point in the Mandalorian show. Him going down the path of like building a lightsaber, because they've touched on that in Clone Wars, and I think
Right.
as a youngling like Grogu, that's a piece that would be neat to see live action.
Mm-hmm.
Him using the Force to like construct the piece and like show that, rather than him just showing up with a lightsaber. I think that might be something they could do if they decided to have him ever have a lightsaber. But I feel like we'd see that first before we see him just whip out
We'd see him
a lightsaber.
having work on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I don't know.
Filoni verse
Man.
character is going to appear in the next episode because it's Filoni's
It
directed
is-
episode?
Well, Ahsoka.
Is
Cad Bane.
Cad
Oh,
Bane.
man.
He's behind. I know there was speculation that maybe those bikers weren't the ones who destroyed the Tuskens, because
Interesting.
even Fennec was like, "Really, those bikers
could take
would
out a-
take out a
That's
thing
true.
of
I thought
Tuskens?"
the same thing.
And Boba was just like seeing red and was just like, "I'm getting revenge." They left their
Yeah.
mark on him, and I also know they're jerks because I.
I also know that even if someone else is
But
behind
she
it,
said
I'll
it.
just go
She
after
said it
them.
like, "Really?" That surprised
She even
me.
said, "Yeah, that doesn't
I don't
sound
feel
right."
it was a throwaway line that there was
I agree. There's-
either that they're working for the Pikes or that it was a bigger thing. But
well, at the time they
but
were
also
working
some
for,
people are speculating that maybe it was like a Cad Bane or someone.
they were working
for
for
the
Bibbs
Pikes.
too at the time. Some
Someone,
of that
but
biker gang.
true.
Yeah,
But that it was someone who is working
I agree.
for someone else. Cad Bane's just one of the people.
Well, I don't think
they
it was
were
a
set up.
coincidence that he went to see the Pikes, and then that
And then that
group,
happens.
they ended up
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a coincidence.
What do
And
we
they
Especially
also-
when he says
Here-
Especially when
Hey-
they derailed their train. That's
And
not
you're-
really going to just
Yeah.
set.
they need to pay tribute to the Tuskens or something like that. He's like, well, we don't pay tribute to two of them. Okay. So the Pikes wipe out the Tuskens.
That's right.
They're like, they solved the issue.
Yep. Here's something we haven't touched on. The mayor.
Yeah.
What's his role?
this.
We haven't touched on the mayor in a while, ever since he ran away.
Right.
We
Is he
never
just
even
go
saw
meet with
him,
the
yeah.
Pikes.
Is he a vehicle, or like to move
Is he-
us, or is he really?
Yeah, I don't know. Is there more to him?
I feel like he was a puppet, a CGI puppet.
Yeah.
He was a
I
little
feel like
puppet.
he was a puppet of the Pikes, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
not. He might come back. I always thought he was like just
Yeah,
Yeah.
middleman, like one of the, not the highest on
Maybe.
the totem
He
pole.
was a
he's
cool character.
That's
I
what
don't
I
know.
really
feel
liked
like
him, though.
see him come back. I would love that.
Do you think it's possible that he's the one that is like he's the one that's ordering, like making all the deals with the Pikes?
Oh, maybe. He brought him in there.
He
to
brought
keep-
him in
get rid of
there.
this Boba Fett guy.
Yeah.
That's gonna
He
mess
brought him
everything
in
up.
there.
Could
It's like
be.
I'm running the show.
That might be.
The agreement is basically, you guys can run your spice, but I'm the one doing
It's
it.
interesting.
Mhm.
Even Pelly mentions that the Pikes are just running over,
Taking over
taking
everything.
over, and that the New Republic not even doing anything about it.
Yeah.
Like it's really showing in Carson. This is why I love Carson Teva in Mando, and then even in this, he's like the only one who's like curious as to what's going on in the Outer Rim. He's like, there's something that's going on here that I don't
Mando
like.
especially.
Could they be
mentions it.
involved?
Yeah, and he's like, there's something. He's trying to stop it, and no one else is.
You're saying
no
could
one else.
the New Republic?
You mean could they help? Could they help stop the Pikes?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Team up with law enforcement.
Although they don't want to do paperwork all day, so
They
probably
don't.
not.
Small thing I forgot. How about the
Right.
fact that he takes out his hot rod and gets pulled over by the cops?
That's a George Lucas.
That was totally a George Lucas.
Totally.
Definitely. As he's going fast, and then
They even
waving
say
the
you're
little
going too
roadie.
fast next to the. Yeah.
Where you
All
had
right, take it easy there, son.
Take it easy.
Your voice. Yeah, you recognize it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I don't know. I feel like the mayor. I feel like we'll see the mayor again. I feel like we'll see him.
It's
again.
hard because
I
it's
don't-
only two. I would be like, yeah, if I for sure knew there was a second season, I would say they definitely would see
Yeah.
the mayor. But now
Like-
it's like with the Mando and Grogu stuff possibly happening, and then you've got Rancor, Chrysanthemum, the mods, Fennec, all of these people there. Garza
Crazy.
Garza Fwip still has her her what they call it, sanctuary place. They've got all of this stuff that's going on with the Pikes and with gosh,
Yeah.
there's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
Which
Did
is a
we,
good thing.
One last thing.
Yeah.
Have we seen the last of the flashbacks? We've talked about this.
Yeah.
Not going in the back to tank anymore.
We talked about that last episode.
I think it.
I missed
think
that
it
part,
is.
but
the healing being 100% complete made me think the dreams are done.
that's right.
The
Right?
fact that the fact that they said
I think Joe even
100%
mentioned that in the chat
complete.
last time.
I think they are done
We'll
with
see.
it.
Yeah.
Until Mando gets his back to tank that he gets to use once he teams
That's
up with him
true.
because his leg is a little hurt.
They
Yeah.
pull
he
out the
goes in
med
there
kit.
and all of a sudden you get to see all of his backstory.
Right.
Pull out the
No.
med kit for.
Do
for
you
Mando.
think back to tank came from back team?
Oh, I like this. This is
You guys
good.
remember
This is
back teen? Are
good.
you too young to remember back
I'm
teen?
a little too young. Nate's
Back
way
teen
too
was
young.
this. Anybody in the chat remembers back teen? You get a cut, you get a scrape, they spray back teen,
Oh,
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
burns
Yes.
like the
Oh, my
devil.
God.
Worse
Uh-huh.
than the cut. Like it's a back teen on it.
Essentially
Back
what he
to
was
tank.
getting sprayed with this time, as far as like spraying the
med kit.
wound.
Yeah.
Back to tank.
That's it.
It's
I just keep.
no.
I'm just wondering,
Back
like,
teen,
as far as the
that's way
mayor
back.
goes, I'm wondering if he is like a Kira type role. Like he is the one that's in control,
But
and then we're gonna see this ends with him going and answering
There's
to,
one
and now
more.
this time it's Kira on the other end of the hologram
Oh,
instead of
yeah.
Maul.
ooh, that would be cool.
Like that type of thing. Is it possible that he is actually doing this, but there is a Crimson Dawn, a Kira like? Maybe it is Kira.
Here's the thing about Filoni. Probably not like this, but Favreau driving the boat. I think Favreau has a little bit of. Let's go. Okay, that was cool. What if?
Yeah.
No. What? But
Let's go
they're
for
gonna
it.
think that. We're gonna think that. But what if we? And he has this.
He doesn't hold back.
Yeah.
So the question is, can Filoni wheel him back in enough
Yeah.
on his
Yeah,
episode
McClunky means curtains.
to only say McClunky 2 more times?
Yeah.
And this is a Filoni episode.
Filoni
directed.
episode. So who? There's got to be someone.
But who's doing
there's
the
gotta
last
be
one?
someone showing up.
Favreau's doing the last one.
I think because didn't they say Favreau was
He's
doing
got
one?
one.
Yeah.
Got the
It's
last one.
we've got okay. Someone has to be showing up. Is it Cad Bane?
I don't know.
It's
I don't know.
Filoni. It's
Is it?
Filoni. It's
What's
gotta
just
be.
strange is does in your heart of hearts, and they could pull this off, and it could be fantastic. Does it feel like all of this recruiting and stuff ends with just defeating the Pikes or just the big bad?
That's
it
why
could be.
I think it's more to
It
it.
could be. But this is really elevating what we think of the Pikes. I mean, as far as like how bad, how scary, how dangerous they are. They
Cloning.
definitely came off as very dangerous in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But the fact that you need Beskar armor, a dark saber, a Rancor, you got Boba Fett and Fennec
Black
Shan
Chrysanthemum.
and Chrysanthemum, all this stuff to just defeat the Pikes.
Yeah.
Seems like they really respect the Pikes, or is there someone?
See, I think
More smart.
Boba Fett
Could
is
be.
thinking that for sure. But
Yeah.
also in order
You
to
just deter everyone else from coming
yeah,
after
in
you,
order
right?
to
You
establish
send a message to wipe them out.
because if the Pikes are coming for them and then all the other families,
Yeah.
if they can establish a strong enough presence, defeating the Pikes is one step to then getting
Yeah.
everybody.
I also have a feeling that this is leading to, I don't know. There's a part of me that's wondering if this is leading down the path of even Boba getting to a point of there's more than even being a crime lord. Like almost hopping on board with Mando's mission of Mandalore.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me seems like something that Boba might find more interest in.
Let's fix the planet.
Let's fix the planet.
Instead of fixing it,
Mos Espadano
well,
do
But
Mos
he keeps
Eisley.
talking about a tribe.
Right.
And what is the Mandalorians are a creed. They're a tribe.
Unite the clans.
Like I
Right.
feel like is it leading towards Boba also recognizing like this could be, I don't know, I just feel like this leading to him then just ruling as a crime lord on Tatooine. That's cool, but I feel like there's going to be more to it, and that's why it might lead into Mando season 3. I'm wondering if there
Maybe.
will be some sort of thing at the end that will either spark Boba and Mando to there's more to this whole thing. That's just why, like, is the Empire behind this still? Because we know
Mhm.
they were behind a lot of stuff in Mando season 2 with the
Yeah.
cloning and all that.
Right.
So does that come into this Boba Fett stuff, that there's more to it with the Empire here? And now Mando's like, I just heard the history of how you destroyed Mandalore. Like, is there more? I don't know.
I had no idea.
There's just a part of me that feels like Boba's going
I
to
love
get to a
it, though.
point where I can help the streets of Mos Espa and Tatooine. But is there more to this creed to building a tribe? I don't know.
I think the only flashback scene we need now, if we're thinking about Boba's mission, the only flashback scene we need now is seeing him track Mando. That's it, because we got Slave One, we got him saved Fennec Shand, so we got them together. We got Slave One, we got him destroying the Rancor, looking for his armor. All we need now is that one scene where Mando passes and
You saw him on the bike.
he gets word of the armor.
With,
maybe catches a glimpse of him, Mando with the crate dragon, getting the armor as a gift and leaving, and Boba Fett sees that. Then we're up to where we started with
Oh,
Mando.
and didn't we get that in?
That's the last.
we got that
flashback.
in Mando, right?
Well, we
They-
saw him speeding away with the armor, and we saw Boba Fett looking at him.
That's what
Is
I
that what you
mean.
mean?
So we saw him going away with the armor.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you're just saying
So-
from there to actually getting.
I
his
think he
ship and
means
getting in
how
there?
to, like, we haven't seen
We haven't seen
him
the flashback
be able to track down the
moments.
armor
to get
yet.
in that.
We haven't seen him know
No,
that
yeah,
Cad Van.
to
We
find
saw
out.
we saw like
Exactly.
the back of him, but we
Yeah.
didn't see
You
him
haven't
walk.
get before that.
All I think we need to see
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
moment where he walks up
Interesting.
Yes.
over the hill, and he now, in Boba's eyes, we see the same scene of the thing.
Interesting.
It's the exact same scene,
Yeah.
except we watch him walk up over the hill and sees the speeder go by, and now we have all the pieces. We know he has Slave One, we have Fennec Shand. He turns around and walks back and says, "I know where we need to go." And now everything that's happened is all covered. Book of Boba Fett is complete to this point. Flashbacks are done. We're moving forward, and then we have the battle with the Pikes. And now, as Boba was an enemy, or as Mando was an enemy, in the very next scene, Mando arrives as a partner to defeat the Pikes. That would be wrapped it all up. Don't need the Bacta tank anymore.
Yeah.
All that stuff. And
I can't
Interesting.
wait. I can't wait for the next
I can't
chapter.
wait either. I
Grogu.
don't-
And
Only 2 more.
can't
What's
believe it.
crazy as we're wrapping up here, I was just thinking, regardless, this is what's so wild about just this time of being a Star Wars fan of this day and age, is that regardless of whether or not we find out there's going to be a season 2 of Boba, or when the release date is for Mando season 3, but they've announced there is a season 3, we are going to get Obi-Wan Kenobi sometime in the April-May time period right there,
Crazy.
likely. That's already done.
Yeah.
We have Andor coming in the fall.
Right.
We have
Bad
Bad
Batch.
Batch season 2.
That's coming up soon.
And we have also,
Bad Batch was May last year, right? Wasn't it May?
I think it was May. Was it May?
Or
It might have
was
been.
it might have been summer? I can't
Didn't they
remember.
just announce Bad Batch when it's coming?
Yeah, I can't remember the release date. I think they did announce Bad Batch season. They announced. I think they did the release date. I don't remember when it was. Though.
They announced didn't they say the season is coming in spring or something like that, or
I
summer?
think it was. But then on top of it, then we also have an Ahsoka show that they're announcing. They announced new cast members even this week for
March 20.
Acolyte.
March.
March 20.
That's
March for Bad Batch.
Bad Batch 2.
Wow. So
All
that's
right,
coming.
new
That's,
prediction. We get Omega next episode.
I don't,
We totally forgot about that.
did you know the problem with that though?
That's the other piece.
Because they're clones, is Tamora Morrison's gonna have
Does he
to,
have to do all
play
the voices?
Omega. He's gonna have to be female Omega
Oh,
with a blonde wig
man.
on and stuff.
Oh
That'd be
man.
awesome.
It's gonna be Marty
It's
McFly.
Dawn of the Sands of Tatooine.
Marty McFly and Back to the Future 2. Mom, is that you?
Mom, is that you?
It's the whole. He has to do
Man.
both the daughter and
Oh,
Marty
man.
and Marty Jr.
Oh,
Oh,
man, there's
man.
just so much.
How are they going to
needs
fit
to
this
happen
in?
the next.
March? Are they going to overlap? It says March to June. They're going to overlap Obi-Wan? What
I
are they
think
gonna
the
do?
Bad Batch
I don't know.
might overlap with Obi-Wan, just because.
Well, we've already introduced now Wednesdays and Fridays.
Yeah, and I don't
We
think
did
any
that
live-
with Boba Fett.
they're not
That's
going to have
true.
any live action overlap.
So we could do
But I
Wednesdays
could
and
see
Fridays.
that Bad Batch. They
I could
have
see Bad
overlap.
Batch overlapping, yeah.
Just gets a little bit of a smaller fan base.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to podcast 24 hours a day.
Well, it's
Yeah.
only it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Let's try quitting our lives. That's a cool trick.
That's a cool trick. Try with me.
Oh, man.
I love it.
What is going to happen?
Nate,
Can't wait.
where can the people find us? Other than watching right now.
Watching right now.
Where
All right,
else?
we got one last question, then we'll wrap it
Oh.
up. Vincent, did they ever say what the forged weapon was that Mando is bringing to Grogu? I don't know if it is a weapon.
Ooh.
It
I believe
might
they
be.
said it's armor.
I believe it's armor
He told her
or
to make
some
armor.
sort of chain links or gifts or something for Grogu. I don't think they said, but I got a feeling we'll see it.
I know what it
Soon
is.
enough.
I just realized what it is.
What is it?
Mithril.
Ooh.
No. What if it's
What?
mithril?
Like there's a
Beskar?
feather, but as hard as
Hard
dragon
as
scales.
scales. What if
That's
it's
a horrible
myth-
accent.
It's
a
the
myth-
9 rings.
That was a cross
That was
between.
awful.
That was Gimli.
That was Gimli
Meets Gandalf.
Meets Gandalf meets Sean Connery.
Hottest dragon scales. Junior.
It is you,
the
Junior.
Grinch.
Max, get me my mithril.
Oh man.
I
Off the
constantly
rails.
go-
Love it.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I don't know. We don't know what that is.
Horrible Gimli impression.
That's fantastic.
Ripe on the bone.
Razor sharp rocks.
Toothless. We're gonna go back there.
Toothless, buddy. I think we need some mithril
Train the dragons.
Toothless.
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 Oh, by the way, real quick,
Butler.
we rode soaring over the earth. The guy who introduced it at Disney.
The poison for couscous. Couscous.
It was Patrick Warburton.
I love Patrick
right.
Warburton.
Poison.
Patrick Warburton.
Right, the
So funny.
Poison
right,
for
the
this guy.
mithril, the
Right,
mithril for
He's
Grogu,
like, okay,
the Grogu
safety,
mithril made by
yeah.
Grogu in the armor.
Safety. God, he's like
Best scarf
safety.
made for Grogu.
Okay, seatbelt. Okay. Oh, and don't forget,
and
stay seated at all times.
I say it all times, and arms inside the vehicle.
That's exactly what it was.
So good.
All right, this is a Star Wars podcast, right?
That
hey,
is.
if Boba Fett can do all Mando, I can talk about Patrick Warburton.
We should have a whole
By the way,
whole
this-
podcast episode
that
on
was-
a different show.
Well, no, that was a perfect setup. We have been talking behind the scenes. We want to finally announce this is big. Our Patrick Warburton Guys podcast. That's our new thing. Our new spinoff is that it's any topic, and we put guys at the end of it.
Yeah.
Star Wars guys.
Lord of the Rings guys.
Lord of the Rings guys. Patrick Warburton
Patrick-
guys.
All Patrick, all day.
All Patrick all day.
Poison for couscous.
Our shirt just says, "Hey you." Yeah, that's right.
And then it says, "Save it for the cast." Save it.
Okay,
for the
buddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right.
Yeah, that's
Off
right.
the rails. I love it. As always, you guys can find us on Instagram. That is @_Star Wars Guys, the official Star Wars Guys Instagram page. Message us with any questions, comments,
Bets.
anything you want. Yeah, Boba bets, Obi wanna happens, Mando maybes, whatever you got for us. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you want to cover. I know right now we're following the Book of Boba Fett, but once our Book of Boba Fett review show and the show wraps up in general, we'll go back to our weekly normal
Regularly scheduled
Star
program.
Yeah, regularly
Mhm.
scheduled program.
Yeah.
Star Wars guys. So let us know what you want us to cover as that time approaches here in the next few weeks. But let us know your thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett. What did you think of this episode? Drop it in the comments, and we'll address those on the next live show. If you're listening to this back, or you tuned in late, you weren't able to catch some of the beginning, you can obviously rewatch it here on YouTube, or you can listen to the audio form on any audio podcast streaming platform. So with that being said, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And as always, may the Force be with you.
This is the way.
Chewie.
That's not how the Force works. That's not how the way works.